agendas that are in our
Sorry,
books
I
are older.
started it and there's no way for me to stop it.
That's fine. All right, we'll start. All right.
Agendas that are in our. Sorry, I
are older.
started it and there's no way for me to stop it.
We.
All right.
Who's talking first? You?
I'm sorry. So there's a little delay, but we are live streaming.
Okay. So
it is 1:07 and we are live.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it's an odd day. It's Friday and it's 1 p.m. and we are having our pre-agenda meeting for the City of Lake Worth Beach for our meeting on September 1st. May I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Betty Resch.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Okay, I just want to say I was scheduled to be in person there today, but because of weather, my flight was delayed. So I got stuck for another day in Vermont and I'm at the airport waiting for the plane. So I'm asking Mimi to take over for me because it's so difficult with the Zoom, but I'll keep listening and chime in if I need to.
Thank you. And we'll keep an eye out for your hand.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Mimi May.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy.
Here.
Commissioner Anthony Segrich.
Present.
All right. Just so you know, Melissa, I'm looking at the agenda in my book and the agenda online, and they don't match, only in the back, in like the backup materials.
Okay, can I look at that after?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted you to know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
we'll fix it.
September
Whatever needs
1st.
to be fixed.
Pardon me?
If something needs to be fixed, we will correct it.
Yeah, we just need new printed agendas. That's all.
All right, no worries.
Okay. All right. This is weird to be here to do this. I feel like I should be in my dungeon. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just go over this and see what questions we have. So we first will do proclamations. Let's see. Any questions on any of the presentations or proclamation? Okay. Can I just ask a question? How does the Barracks Legend President Veteran and First Responder Resource Update, how does that get on? Like who schedules that? I mean, I think it's good. I just don't know, like you ask us about presentations and stuff, and then no, we didn't talk about any of this. I don't care if that it's on. I just want to know how it gets there.
Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
So staff is allowed to add things to the agenda. This was added by Stuart Sword, who is coordinating the 9/11 presentations.
Awesome. Okay. I didn't know. Do you guys think we should put added by or brought forward by?
Not a bad idea. We often
And
do.
it's Barack's legend. It's for Barack Obama.
Oh, sorry. Do you think we should
I think that would be good so the public knows.
Yeah,
personally.
or we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything added by staff, you just want to put who.
Yeah, brought forward by so and so, so we even know what department it's from.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, I don't have a problem with it being there. I just would, so I don't look like a fool saying barracks instead of Barracks. And we go from there. Anthony.
I think that's a good idea. We also did it sometimes for when commission brought it forward. We sometimes identified the commissioner, sometimes did not. I think it would just be useful for the public in general to see that, and maybe they can direct their questions more pointedly and so on.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, and so that means that Mr. Sword is going to do the presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. Anything, the consent agenda, questions on the consent agenda? We've got a bill of sale and a proclamation.
I don't have a question. I just want to say that the Arc of Palm Beach is a great entity, and if no one's ever been there to support them, they have a resale shop that is adjoining to this property, and it's a non-for-profit. I highly recommend supporting that organization.
What do they do?
focus on adults who are mentally challenged
Mm-hmm.
and helping them have resources to live on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a higher level. So I think they start at 18 and go all the way up to senior. So they create
That's
programs
huge.
and give resources to those who are developmentally disabled, slow.
Okay. I love that. Okay, thank you. All right, after consent agenda, public hearing 1 is the Pinnacle on South. I'm assuming this is William. William, you wanted just to give us a little overview, just in case we have questions on that? I just spilled my
William
water.
Waters, Community Sustainability Director. This is a project that has been perking and bubbling along for about 8 years now in one version or another. You've already approved some LIHTC funding for this project several months ago. It is a 2-building complex across 3 parcels being done by the Pinnacle Group. The entire project is affordable housing. 1 building is 4 stories, 1 building is 5. You're going to hear a little bit on Tuesday night about some efforts to preserve a tree that will have a very low likelihood of being able to be relocated or survived. I think that there have been citizens in the community who have contacted Pinnacle and have gotten them to committing some sort of amount of money to the Tree Restoration Fund. You'll hear about that on Tuesday night. You'll also hear a request from Pinnacle to waive the city's portion of the sustainable bonus payment that you have put in for through a resolution because the project is 100% affordable housing.
Anthony?
Thank you. This is more of just a procedural question. So this is a quasi judicial hearing coming to us. I'm assuming it went through planning and zoning and
Yes.
other things as quasi judicial.
Mhm.
Because it involved a tree movement, I'm making the assumption that did this go before the tree board? And
No, it did not, because the tree board does not have a role in the quasi judicial process, but tree board members did weigh in on, as I understand it, on the preservation of this tree. And the applicant did a tree survey for the arborist. We had our arborist look at it. It could be moved with a great deal of preparatory effort, but with a low likelihood of it being able to be saved or that it would survive once it was relocated.
and something like this, if this seems like a perfect candidate to ask the tree board their opinion on it. I know they're not part of the quasi judicial process. Would they have like a regular board meeting on it if we wanted that opinion? Because it seems like we have the board, but they're acting as individuals on this topic versus acting as the advisory board.
That may be a question for legal, since it's a quasi judicial process governed by our local planning agency. In this case, it's the Planning and Zoning Board, and then on to you in the plan development process. I don't know legally how that fits into that approval process. And we have fairly, I'm gonna put this. The tree does not have to stay if they're willing to pay the mitigation fee. And they've already had enough landscaping that's proposed on the project to mitigate the loss of that tree. And so the Tree and Landscape Board isn't necessarily totally privy on the zoning parameters or LDR that relate to a plan development. We would probably have to spend some time educating them on that, because they would not be necessarily allowed to make recommendations that fly in the face of what the LDRs allow. Because it is a quasi judicial process.
Yeah, that's just my concern is we have a board acting as individuals because they're kind of left out of the process. Whether that's legally necessary or not, I don't know. Hopefully legal can answer us on it. It doesn't have to be today, but if they are going to be involved in the process, it would be nice if they were involved as the board in their capacity with the appropriate education from your side in terms of the planning and zoning, what's possible, what's not possible, because the fear is them acting as individuals, but perceived as being acting as a board could be problematic.
Yes.
So, and then the other legal question I have is, since they are a board, they are subject to sunshine. And whether or not them coordinating outside of the board on something like this poses an issue. So that's my, I don't know if legal's on, but
Yeah,
if,
legal's on.
if we can get some information on that,
Mhm.
not asking for it right away, but, you know, at least send to us on that, that would help. Thank you.
Ms. Maliga.
Thank you. William, I do see that they have one elevator in each building.
Mhm.
That terrifies me. Because if you, I don't know if you've kept up with on the news lately, there's been an apartment building that their elevator's been down for months and somebody who is disabled, who lives on the top floor, cannot get out of their apartment. So I know this project, I know that they've gotten a lot of benefit with this project from the CRA, from the government, in regards to the tax deferral and money from, I forgot how much they got from the CRA. Two things I'd like to see is an additional elevator somewhere. I'm looking at the plans and it doesn't look like they're short of space to add an elevator, even if it's one right next to it. And do you
The
know if
least
they're
expensive way to add an elevator is to have the elevators banked side
right
by
next to each
side.
other? Correct. That's what I'm saying. It looks like there's plenty of room. I mean, compared to their layout. That's my main concern, is having an
Mhm.
additional elevator in each building as well as security cameras.
Mhm.
Do you know if that's part of?
They have a fairly significant and sophisticated security aspect to their project. That should all be addressed on the first by the applicant,
Okay,
because we made them aware. I think you all were copied on the email that let them know that the commission's preference is for 2 elevators on buildings that require them. And that was sent out maybe 6 weeks ago, I think. Maybe I'm losing track of time because time's gone by so fast.
So fast.
okay.
So,
So they have been notified.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That's all I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. The minimum that they have to have is one.
Mhm.
And then when they went through the two boards, did they bring up?
They only went through one board. the
Oh, I'm
Planning and
sorry.
Zoning board.
Planning and zoning. I apologize. That's right. It's not historic. Did they bring up the elevators?
No, because the elevator requirement falls under the building code and not the LDRs.
Okay. Oh, because it's a minimum something that they have to have.
Service level. They do have a generator that will function to serve both elevators, that they're separate buildings, in the time when electricity is out or
Okay.
something. And their minimum, under housing and urban development, their accessible rooms or accessible capacity rooms are all on the first floor.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's not saying that somebody who
Right.
lives on the third floor isn't on a walker or isn't on a cane. That's just saying that the first floor is all ADA.
Right.
So the doors are
Well-
wider, the bathrooms are wider.
Well, I won't
The
say they
rails.
all are, but the one that the minimum number they're required to have are set up there. And then some of them are set that can be converted later, like putting extra blocking in the wall. So you can add and guardrails or handicap, whatever they're called. I can't think today. Assistance for those people that would like to have a room there
Okay.
or an apartment there.
Okay. So that's Pinnacle. So they know that, and that's good. So I don't want to talk too much about that, especially if it's quasi judicial, because we need to make it through the hearing on Tuesday. All right, July 4th, we're going to have the wrap up, the deed restriction for 628 North K. Anybody have questions about that? I'm on the one online. Oh, dude, I was just way at the, I'm so sorry. I am completely, oh, here's that. All right. I apologize. Artificial turf. But let me just, I don't know if is Betty there? Okay. If she contacted me in a way, should I share what she has said? Because she'd like her 2 cents put in about this. Legal. I think I'm going to ask her, Ms. Resch, if you would like to add something to email the clerk. I don't see her either, but I'm not going to read it. I just don't think that, that's a private. I don't want my phone subpoenaed. Glenn?
If she's asked you to say something because she couldn't be here and you're sharing it publicly, that's fine.
Okay. She said they agree to 2 elevators in the 5-story building. They have generators for the elevators. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about turf. I mean, if there's issues we're going to get into on Tuesday, let's at least bring them out in the open now so that staff can be prepared to answer the questions that might come up. Because then we won't have to say, can you go back and find out? So I saw Mr. Segrich's light on first, then Mr. McFoy. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify, because I did ask a lot of questions and thank you for responding. The new state preemption is only for residential 1 acre or less. And basically it says if it's allowed by the DEP's rules, we can't restrict it. So reading through it, a lot of the stuff that we have in here are more restrictive than the DEP rules. I just want to clarify those things that are more restrictive than the DEP rules, they do not apply to 1 acre or less residential.
Correct.
Okay. So
And I just wanted to bring this up for the listening public, is that almost 40% of the city's area on that zone is single family residential, which would be exempt. And we have very few single family residential parcels that are an acre or bigger. There may be one, the Birthday Cake House, and maybe 1 or 2 out at Lake Osborne. So just so that people will be aware that what that number is.
So my request will be on Tuesday is that we really clarify this. So almost break this down into 2 sections. Residential 1 acre or less, we follow the DEP regulations, and then all other properties, these are our regulations for that. The concern is because when I immediately read it, my concern was that we were falling afoul of the state preemption, and then staff corrected me on that. But I reread it and reread it and reread it, and it was very subtle. And I just think for the sake of clarity and given the nature and kind of hot topic that this is, absolute clarity on it would be nice to see.
And Madam Mayor,
Yes,
if I
Mr.
could,
Trocivia?
I think we want to be clear that some things, for example, I think one of the proposals, whether it's within the 1 acres or the other homes, if they have an existing sprinkler system and the requirement is now that they would have to cap them off, that's certainly not more restrictive because that we have a sprinkler system in there. The percolation is not more restrictive, the 10-inch percolation. So there are some things that I'm not sure which Commissioner Segrich is thinking is more restrictive or not, but those are perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, those were fine, but it's the front yard restrictions and so forth, as well as a lot of the installation requirements and so on.
There's under line 161 where applicability, it refers to all the single family properties of 1 acre or less comply with the state standard as amended regarding the artificial turf. All other properties within the city must comply with the requirements of this paragraph 15, which is what comes after that. Elizabeth and I did speak, and we'll speak again about putting a clarifying item maybe under B as a 6th. There might have been another place, but we talked about it. But she and I are going to speak before Tuesday. We just haven't had a chance this week.
Do you have anything else?
My other questions were on percolation rates, and I just need to do some additional research on that in terms of what constitutes an average percolation rate on normal grass here in Lake Worth Beach, so that can be compared to what we are
I feel like that was in
requiring.
there. Yeah, that was in there. It was 30 something per something.
This is right.
I'm like, I think I read that somewhere.
Von Baker Water Utilities. I'm not sure if it made it into the final copy of the ordinance, but I did provide all that data to William and Elizabeth when we were talking about writing it, and I'd be happy to pass that along. But average would be, we have very sandy soil here, so it's easy for water to get dispersed underground, taken away. I don't want to say a number off the top of my head without checking, but I can pass that along.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vaughn. Any other turf questions on my left? All right, Mr. McFloy?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all the details and the legal aspects of whether we're more restrictive, less restrictive, all those things that the legal department can deal with. But I'd like us as a commission to think about the big picture, which we talked about the other day, that when Ms. Baker went up to the workshop on rainfall intensity and rainfall expected changes, and they talked about things that other communities are able to do to increase infiltration. It was pointed out, we were reminded, I think, which most of us certainly know, we can't do most of those things because we do not have swales along roads other than Boutwell Road. We have a little bit, which we're already using for that purpose. But most of the city does not have open space that can be used to increase infiltration. Therefore, what we do on properties, mostly residential properties, is very influential on what happens to our stormwater and influential on what happens to our water supply. And that should be a guiding part, particularly because we put in there, as we always do, and the attorney tells us that we are allowed to suddenly get soil physics degrees, all of us, and determine that something is in the best interest of the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city. There is no way that I can, it would be a professional malpractice on my part as a soils guy, and particularly a soil physics guy, which deals with this sort of stuff, to say that any form of artificial turf is in the public interest, safety, and general welfare, particularly in our city, given our geometry and the fact the stormwater concerns, the fact that our stormwater discharges directly to the Lake Worth Lagoon, that we have a legal responsibility to not pollute excessively. Here's some detail on infiltration rate. I appreciate Commissioner Segret's more detailed interest in that. Infiltration is very much a function of what's happening at the surface of the soil. It's not just if I take a cylinder of soil, put it in the lab, and try to push water through it. It's not even necessarily a field test of it, because especially in Florida, it varies a lot with water repellency. And all of you, I think I've mentioned this before, all of you can try it at home with your potted plants. When you first put water on it, the water beads up. It may even look like it's wetting up the surface. If you peel back a little bit of it, it's not wetting at all. And the relation to artificial turf is that artificial turf heats up way more. It does not produce any organic matter. It kills organic matter, the dark stuff that makes sandy soils useful to grow things and especially to filter stuff out. So what we're doing every time we allow artificial turf is we are increasing the water repellency, decreasing the infiltration, and decreasing the one thing that protects our water supply and increases your infiltration, the organic matter at the surface. So keep that in mind. I understand that we're restricted by the state on what we can do, but keep in mind that our city is a little bit different because of how it's laid out. And we do, as elected officials, have an obligation to look out for the public safety, health, and welfare. And there is no way to argue that artificial turf helps us and that it hurts us. What you want to do with that is up to you, but be aware of the scientific background behind it.
Thank you, Ms. Malika.
My question is, my backup still shows that the tree board was supposed to review this on the 18th of August. Did they ever do that?
Yes, they did, and they did not recommend approval.
And do you remember what the vote was?
I think it was a motion was made to recommend approval and it failed completely. So it was unanimous in making the recommendation.
Can
By
we,
default.
can we make sure that that staff report is updated before the meeting and reflective of such? Please.
And also, are they making that judgment based on state law or based on best practices for trees,
It's basically best practices for landscape.
for landscape?
and living landscape in the city. Staff at the time did explain the preemption and information from the state,
Mhm.
and they made the recommendation.
So
such that
basically,
it
they're
was-
recommending that natural grass is and is better,
Yes.
which we kind of know. And also, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to go out and get artificial turf tomorrow. You know, knowing this, and I think that Mr. McBoy educating us about this make people think twice about doing that to the environment. But because of the state preemption, we can't stop people if they want to, is basically what we're saying.
Right.
Okay. Sarah, go ahead. Your light's still on. All right. And then Anthony, and then let's move on to the next one.
Yep. Sorry. I'll try to make it, again, I don't need an answer from legal right now, but the Florida friendly landscape as required under Florida statute is very different from the Florida friendly landscape as defined by the university program.
Right.
Per Florida statute, you cannot prevent somebody from including a Florida friendly landscape design in their site plan. Goes particular to commercial, and the courts, I believe, have ruled that artificial turf may be or is allowed to be a part of a Florida friendly landscape site plan. So I would be interested in having legal's opinion on whether or not that will be a conflict. So we have the preemption on the residential, but we also have a pre-existing state statute that says in a site plan, they can do Florida friendly landscapes according to state statute. And artificial turf, whether people agree or disagree, whether it's good or not, is allowed to be part of that. And so my concern is that by imposing these regulations that we might be falling afoul with that. I don't know. We do allow for, I think, a good amount in this particular statute, so we might be okay.
Mhm.
But I just want to be fully prepared on that side.
As a point of clarity, in 6 months, maybe less, you're going to be seeing a whole new landscape code, environmental regulations for the LDRs, which you graciously approved for us. And they're making headways and they're incorporating all the aspects of the artificial turf and the state statutes and removing a lot of the contradictions between the administrative code, chapter 2, and the LDRs, chapter 23, and likely what you brought up. I tuned in a little bit late to a meeting, unfortunately. They were talking a little bit about what you just brought up to make sure that the new landscape code is compliant with all the state regulations and preemptions.
So basically, this is kind of safe for now, but we're moving towards a more exact answer. So don't split hairs today when we're going to be revisiting
I'm
it.
not telling you to do anything. I'm just saying you're going to see a whole new one soon.
Okay, good. Go ahead, please.
All right, Von Baker, Water Utilities again. So I just looked back to find my own input on this ordinance, and to generalize for simplicity, permeability of regular undeveloped land in our area would have 20+ inches per hour permeability. I think that to allow artificial turf to be considered 50% impervious for the purpose of site requirements, we would want to require the maximum 10 inches per hour for all levels. And also recommended that we add in the NRCS web soil survey for the permitting requirements. So 20-ish. What is the answer?
Does that work for you? You got your answer? Okay, good. All right, moving on to, where are we next? July 4th, right? And then North K, is that what you are speaking on? Okay, Commissioner Maliga.
In reflecting on this conversation for the consideration of deed restriction for the North K, this is what happens when we have staff turnover and we have people not following up with things that we've done as a city. And I am not in favor of supporting this. And I think that the owner had plenty of time to do what was right. But I'm a little frustrated that we don't have a process for when these things happen, like a calendar, a tick of time. I've talked to legal with it. And I think that we need to go back and look at all of these that have been done in the past 15 years and make sure that they're on par with where they need to be.
Okay, Mr. Segrich?
I 100% agree with Commissioner Malega on that. In addition, I think this also affects not only deed restrictions, but our revocable permits that have expired as well. I know it might not be deed restrictions per se, but there have been development restrictions and clawbacks in some of our contracts and CRA contracts that I believe have been released premature, and we've ended up with projects that have never happened. So not only a process, like you said, to go back and make sure we hit these dates and double check on these, but also making sure that if we're having a deed restriction or a contractual restriction on a sale of a city property or CRA property, it better require that the project be finished in a timeline, not just permits applied for, because that's kind of the situation that we're in with some of these, where unfortunately they cleared that and then board said, okay, you're good. And now the city, has very valuable parcels that were, I hate to say given away, but they were sold at well under market that are not developed. So 100% agree.
Okay. Let's see. Next item is the law enforcement agreement. Mr. McFoy?
I think my concern, well, I have a lot of concerns here, but yeah, it comes as a shock, I'm sure. I have a lot of concerns that we as a commission would deviate from our past practice that we've had as commissions in Lake Worth for probably somewhere between 11 and 15 years, where we typically do a 1-year contract. And part of the reason for that is it gives flexibility to make changes without having to do something drastic, like saying, we're leaving PBSO. It just allows for an annual revisiting, make sure everything's on course. And it also allows for different commissions who are there to have an influence on it. So I have a real problem with a 3-year contract. That's not what we've done in the past, and I don't see any reason to start with it now. The other major procedural problem that I have is I have asked a number of questions. I've gotten some answers to them. Thank you to all who've helped. Mr. Perry was quite helpful with that, and Captain Karn was partially helpful. But I have not received answers to all of the questions that I've raised. I have a feeling that there may be other commissioners that also have questions. I can't speak to whether they've all been answered or not. But in any case, and they're important questions. This is our biggest contract, $15 million odd. It's the biggest contract that we do. It's a noticeable percentage of our budget. And the backup material defining what we are agreeing on was not posted by the deadline that we have established as part of our rules. And I think the combination of commissioners not having fulsome answers to things, and just we're not meeting our rules. I don't quite understand how my colleagues would be in favor of putting it on the agenda when we have said that we should follow our rules and, and we know what the rules are. The rules are if the backup is not ready 11 days before by the Friday, then it doesn't go on. It waits till the next one. I would be interested to hear from my colleagues how they feel about, well, I mean, first, factually, is my statement true that the backup was not available? I believe it to be because we've had emails that the red line contract came back Tuesday or Wednesday. Some more information came along yesterday. That clearly is not 11 days before. So, but if somebody thinks I'm factually mistaken there, I'd be happy to hear that. If I'm not factually mistaken, I would like to hear from my colleagues why they feel it's okay to violate our rules. So I'd kind of like to hear that from everybody.
Okay, thanks. I think Sarah's first.
I don't know when you got the contract. I know when I got the contract and all my questions have been answered. My only concern to staff was page 3 under E.
Wait, hold on. Page 3.
Under commission meetings at no charge, board and committee meetings, I asked to include the CRA meetings because the CRA has no security here. They do meet here in this room, and I think that it's important with that door being open. So that was my only concern, is that we spelled out the CRA as well. Even though it says board and committee, some people could say, well, they're technically their own board. But that was my only question. I did respond to Mr. Perry's inquiry, and if I thought that, or if I felt that this should be moved, and I don't, I think that this needs to be moved forward and voted on.
Thank you, Mr. Segrich.
Thank you. On page 13, in the top paragraph, talking about the
Wait, hold on. Before you go into your
I'll
detail,
address that.
you are going to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about what Sarah said, because I don't want us to forget that.
Oh, the CRA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Are you okay with it saying CRA?
I'm still looking for an answer from my commissioners,
I
what
just
their
answered.
feeling is
Did.
about
She
violating.
did. I just,
Yeah.
I don't want to skip. We'll all answer your question, but I don't want to skip things because then we won't remember to go back to them. I know us. So the
Fine.
CRA,
That's
the
fine.
CRA, and when it says board and committee meetings, does that mean like just the quasi judicial ones, or the tree board and the education board? And so I kind of a little bit more clarity. It doesn't have to be clarity in here, just for us, maybe.
Just to get an overview, I had a conversation with Captain Karn and the lieutenant on Wednesday, and I brought up the concern about the CRA and said he was going to go back and take a look at it and look at how many resources that would be available. But he didn't think it was going to be a problem. That's what he
Excellent.
told me on Wednesday.
Okay, we should double check for the other ones, because you've got the business advisory board, you've got the education.
But what I'm doing is I get sort of mixed reviews, because I thought the issue was any board, we were trying to adopt that any board that's meeting here in City Hall, that they try to get someone here.
Okay, I forgot
so
that
that was what I'm.
what about
so,
the education task force and the tree board? Don't they meet here?
I think they meet down here in the conference.
Yeah, meet in the conference room.
Do you feel that do you think
So
that
I
there
can go
needs,
back and talk.
hold
to
on,
this- I'm sorry.
yeah, do you think that you need an officer here for those?
At this time, no. I
Okay.
don't-
And I can't imagine that the tree board would, but if they speak up, then we can find out. But I wouldn't think so. I just want to make sure that we put in the CRA.
And just to be fair and address Captain Carmen's concerns, I guess like the when we had the 9 to 5 budget workshops,
Yeah.
he was concerned about taking a staff off the road for
Right.
8-9 hours.
Yeah.
But like I tried to reassure him, most of the board meetings from 6 to 8 or 9, whatever the case might be. So that's
You're
why
so cute.
he think it wouldn't
8
be a
or
problem.
9.
Well, most of the time, but that's what the discussion was on Wednesday.
Okay.
All right.
All right, great. Okay, now back to
Yep.
Commissioner Segrich.
Thank you. Page 13 at the top,
Hold on, we gotta get there.
where it says agreement for up to 1 year, it was supposed to be agreement for a minimum of 1 year if needed. So the concept that we had talked about last meeting was that we wanted to ensure that they give us at least a year
Yeah,
of
it was supposed to be
transition.
at least.
So, To address Commissioner McVoy's concerns, I do agree with you that the backup was not done in time according with our policy. However, I think we do need to examine our policy surrounding things like contract negotiations and leases and other items. Number one, I would like to see us have a policy where this starts 90 to 120 days prior to the expiration of the contract, meaning that the commission, if we are going to have to review and give feedback on a contract or lease or someone that's up for renewal, we have 90 to 120 days. That in and of itself eliminates a lot of this urgency, right? Artificially created urgency, right? The second half of that is a matter of efficiency. So I firmly believe that when we have a great discussion on an item and we have to continue it to the very next meeting, or trying to get through it, we've already received all of the initial backup. The public's already received all that initial backup. What we are doing with this today is going over our changes that we discussed at the last public meeting. So I actually think for contract negotiations or, just in general, things that we continue to the next meeting, I think that the publication deadline should be the Friday immediately preceding that meeting, which gives people 4 extra days to look at what we discussed in the meeting, or if they choose to attend the meeting or they can watch it online, it's all there and available. But to me, this discussion, and the reason why I think Mr. McVoy it's acceptable, is this is a continuation of the previously noticed, previously published backup and materials with our changes from that meeting. So I don't see any new backup in here that we didn't have the last meeting. And I understand we all got to ask a lot more questions, which is great. And if we want to share those answers with the public, we certainly are welcome to do so. I've shared a lot of my question answers with constituents that's asked me. So that's where I stand on this. But I do appreciate you saying about the rules. I agree, but I believe our rules are broken. And so I would like to see them changed with a 90 to 120 day, as well as if we're continuing something, it's the Friday before, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Of course.
Madam Vice Mayor. It is a little bit, I appreciate the reasoning, and I think the idea that for things that we negotiate, particularly the bigger ones, that we have a 90 to 120 day lead time on it and start in early, so there isn't an artificial urgency. I 100% support that idea. I've raised it other years with exactly this contract, and I was sort of told, well, it's too late now, come back next year. And here we are. I have conceptually a lot of difficulty of saying that we have rules, but we aren't going to follow it because we think the rule is broken. That's a little convenient and a little over the top. Either you have rules and you follow the rules and you're committed to following the rules, or you don't have rules. We do have a rule, and I would argue that yes, we had some materials available, but, and I don't, Ms. Malega said she had received it differently. My email is from Tuesday. Oh, okay. Well, I see that my email from Glenn is from August 25th saying, here's the red line back from EBSO. That is clearly a pretty key part of the backup, and that the public needs the same 11 days that we give for much smaller items. They should have at least that. I find it concerning that we would say for our biggest contract, hey, why don't we just decide that the rule is broken and not follow it? If it was some minor item, should we plant a green buttonwood or should we plant a purple whatever? okay, you know, maybe, but this is a pretty big contract. It has a lot of influence. So I do have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Steementer, nothing? Okay. I responded to the email that was asked because it was sent to all of us regarding if we thought that this was too hasty. And my response to that email, although I didn't reply all, was that it was something that was already on the schedule. We already had started the conversation. We had 4 hours of conversation. We all went through this red line about 4 times, and we knew what was coming back to us. It came back to us a week before the meeting, and I think that's plenty of time for this. If it was, oh, hey guys, we need to throw a big contract on for next Tuesday's meeting, no way. But this was something that we had already started discussing, and I don't see anything that has changed between last week's meeting and Tuesday's meeting. So except for the red line thing, and that's the only thing we asked them to come back with. And at the meeting, we said we were going to bring it back on the 1st. So it was noticed that it was going to be back on the 1st, and the only change was the red line. So I'm okay with that. All right. Let's move on because I don't think we're going to change any minds here. I see the mayor on, but I don't see her thing. So let's move on with that.
I would like to raise, separate from the procedural, a concern that I believe I sent to sent to the city manager and asked to send to the commission a while back, that, and I think I mentioned it recently in my liaison comments, that there was a ruling from the Eastern District in Michigan of the U.S. District Courts that made it very clear that we do have authority to decide the degree of local and law enforcement involvement in immigration issues. This federal government has the authority to themselves carry out immigration issues, but they do not have the authority, according to that ruling very clearly, they do not have the authority to tell us how our local enforcement does it. And it concerns me greatly that PBSO, our contractor, did not ask us when they signed on to a 287G agreement that very clearly is recognized in criminology research across the country, that involvement negatively influences local law enforcement. And that was specifically referred to in the Eastern District one. And it concerns me a lot that there is nothing in the contract about PBSO's involvement, either as a countywide organization or as the District 14 part of it, on immigration. And what I am seeing repeatedly, I do have to confess to a misspoke. I believe at a previous meeting, I said that 70% of the detainees on immigration do not have a criminal record. I misspoke. I saw something more recently. It's 77%. So nearly 80% of the people do not meet the stated criteria that the federal government has repeatedly said we're going after the criminals, the worst of the worst. And it is simply, in 80% of the case, not true. That is a problem, that we are signing a contract that we know diminishes the service that we get. We cannot pretend ignorance. Oh, we didn't know that we need to do something about the local law enforcement involvement at that. We didn't know that it's known to diminish local law enforcement. And so we didn't say anything about it.
Mr. McVoy, I'm going to interrupt because we have less than 5 minutes and we still have items to cover. It's pre-agenda meeting.
Pretty important topic.
Okay. Let's move on to the budget amendment for the water treatment plant. Does anybody have questions on that?
On that
All right. And the next one is the community greening tree giveaway. Ms. Maliga.
I've attended a couple of these, and my concern about this event is do they verify that these are
I knew
Lakewood
you were
Beach
gonna say that.
residences? Not just that, but I hate to tell, I actually know like 5 people who've gotten the trees and they've just stayed in the bucket and not been planted. So my concern is just as much as I'm all about the tree canopy because I hate walking in complete sun. Would we be better off spending this money increasing our own canopy in areas along our sidewalks that are often used for kids to get back and forth to school, around our green spaces and around our parks, than the $10,000 to give trees away at an event? I mean, it's a great look and it's a good PR stunt. I just don't know if they're really being planted and if we're really seeing the fruits of your labor, if you will.
But
So that was my only concern is the follow through.
okay, go ahead, Anthony.
I agree with Commissioner Malega. I brought up in the past thoughts on a proactive program for promoting tree canopy where it actually had measured results. Not saying this is like the perfect idea, but something to the effect of, if you do plant a mature shade tree in your front yard at year 3 or so on, you get some sort of either tax break or credit or this or that, but it would be verified that indeed has added to the canopy. I also support looking at some of our roads and the medians and so on, and would rather invest in some irrigation and getting some canopy to those areas. And I've been to several of these, and I will concur with your observations. I think we could do better than this.
Okay, 3 minutes left, Mr. McVoy. I mean,
I find it interesting that I think we're well recognized that we as a city do not do very well on tree canopy. It's been measured various different ways. It's certainly known in the community. I've heard this objection to tree giveaways multiple times. Will you have 100% efficiency? Will some people leave a pot on the porch and not get around to planting it as quickly as would be optimal? Yes, I'm sure that will happen. I can tell you, I've got a bunch that are 3 times as tall as I am that came from tree giveaways. And I'm not all that thorough about doing everything on the right time. But they've done fine. That's part of the advantage of native trees. You do need to water them. I would certainly support some sort of addition to the program where somebody is in charge of, and people know when they receive the trees, maybe they sign a little something. Hey, we agree that somebody will come by in a month or a week, or give me a call. Hey, have you planted your tree yet? Do you need any help with where to put it? Do you need any help? And here's a reminder, put your irrigation in before you go to the tree giveaway so you know it's there. All those things are helpful, but and it's fine to encourage the city to do well, but the city, in fact, has taken trees out of the medians and has cut down trees where they maybe shouldn't have. So I'm not sure that that's the right route.
okay, well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that more on Tuesday. Excuse me. If we went your route, do you think that the Tree and Landscape Board would be the ones to do that? Then they really would be the tree police. That would be uncomfortable, I think, as a citizen.
I mean, if it was calling and saying, hey, and let people know at the time they picked them up. We understand that human nature is what human nature is, and people are busy, and you don't want to leave it sitting too long. The sooner you plant it, the less root bound, blah, blah, blah. We're going to give you a call. Somebody's going to give you a call in a month, whether it's community greening or whether it's some volunteer or whether it's Sarah, I believe, wants to call about trees. I think I signed her up for that.
Okay. I'm just sometimes we come up with suggestions, and I don't think it's a bad suggestion, but I'm not putting it on staff.
But if there's 150 trees that we can get for $10,000, imagine what we could do in our city with 150 trees. That's what I'm saying. And we have the knowledge.
Yeah, but community greening probably gets 150 trees for $10,000 because they plant millions of trees.
Right, but I'm saying if we could get the trees from them, do the project, but not give them away and actually us use them within our public spaces.
It's
I don't-
probably not part of their grant to give them to cities, but I hear what you're saying.
And I don't think we have staff to plan all of those.
That's what the tree board's for. Kidding. Okay, so we'll talk about that more on Tuesday. And do you have anything that you want to add? All right. Thank you guys for a great meeting. It's 2:00 on the dot. We are going to have our next budget meeting starting at 2:10 because we have to have a comfort break before that. And we'll see you then. All right. Thanks.
I'm not 100% fan of
Thank you. That clock is 1 minute. Oh, there we go. Now it's 2:10. All right, Melissa, let us know, please, when you're live. Do I have an agenda for this one?
We're still live. I didn't stop it and restart it. We normally just keep going.
Oh, I did not know that. I apologize. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move into, do you really think we should do that? I think we should stop and start a new one so that when you put it up, it's different.
Yeah, but it's all, I mean, I'll do that. If you want me to end it, I'll end it and restart. But everybody's on here. Everybody would have to sign in again.
Okay, if you were if people were looking for all 4 budget meetings, they'd have to watch the pre-agenda meeting to get
No,
to
they
this.
would not. No, they
Okay.
would not.
All right, that's all I wanted to make sure. Bless you. Okay, so then we will continue on with the.
Yes, it is 2:11 and we are continuing with the budget workshop.
I thought you were going to say we are alive. Let's hope so. Okay, so we are going to do the 4th budget workshop of the City of Lake Worth Beach. Can I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Resch is probably boarding her plane. Vice Mayor Mimi May,
I'm present.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Live and in living color.
Commissioner Christopher McBoy,
Here,
Commissioner Anthony Segrich.
Present.
All right, we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by me. Hi, me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. And I see it says we're going to do Stantec. Is that what we're going to do first? Okay.
I'm going to provide a quick recap of all 3 workshops and then Stantec will come in.
Okay. And I know the mayor isn't here, but let's just pretend she is. Speak louder and slower.
Okay.
I'm channeling the mayor. Like, you really have to get the microphone close to your mouth. It feels uncomfortable. I know, but
It touched my lips, but okay. Is this good?
oh my God, that's so great. Excellent job.
All right. Good morning, Vice Madam Mayor, Commissioners, and my name is Candace Dell, and welcome to Budget Workshop number 4. I am the Senior Budget Analyst here in the Finance Department. And as soon as we get it up, okay.
You know what they also have, Candace? They're like microphone condoms.
I had one.
Okay.
I left it, but I'm
Yeah, because then you can get really close.
right.
I remember them well, remember that from COVID?
I do remember.
I'm really not trying to be juvenile. That's what they're called. Okay, go ahead. Not trying to be juvenile, you start.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. During today's workshop, Stantec will present its financial analysis of the general fund, the enterprise fund, and the special revenue funds. But before they start, like I mentioned, I'm just going to give a recap of the first 3 workshops, and then they will come in. First, they will present the cost allocation analysis before they do their financial analysis. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so during budget workshop number 1, we had approximately 6.1 million in supplementals that were approved by commission. And that's just showing you a breakdown by fund. Next slide. In workshop number 2, we had approximately 1.2 million in supplementals that were approved. In workshop number 3, we had approximately 856,000 of supplementals that were approved. Overall, in total, 8.3 million in supplementals that have been approved so far. Also, during budget workshop number 3, we also went over the CIP, and the next 3 slides, which are slides 8 through 10, shows you a breakdown of those projects for fiscal year 2027. However, I do need to correct an error that was made. You guys don't have this in your printout, but on slide number 10 for local sewer fund, total funded should be 5.2 million and not the 2.4 million that's shown.
Total sewer fund, I have 5.2.
Local sewer, but if you look in the column where it says total funded on slide number 10,
Oh.
it should be 5.2 million. The 3 and the 2 million was fully funded, yes.
Wait, what?
Right, correct. And it's 0 unfunded.
Wait, where?
At the top where it says local sewer fund,
Okay, so we're looking at,
Vice Mayor, this should not be here. Add this to this. Add the blue column to the green. It shouldn't say unfunded.
correct.
So move the unfunded over and it becomes 3 million. That becomes 2 million.
And it's
follow?
all from borrowing.
no. Point
See
out
where we
what
are?
they're doing.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, I think I
Take
got,
that to that. Get 3.
Yeah.
Take that to that.
So total not identified for funding is not there. We're moving that
0.
over because we
That's
have
correct.
identified funding for it.
Correct.
All right,
yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, and so slide 11, I corrected it here on this slide that you're saying live, but in your copy, if you want to make the changes, you can. So it should be a total of $78,964,986 of funded projects.
Say that number again, 7, 8,
It's on the board.
9, 6, 4.
986
And then unfunded.
and unfunded 478,700.
Got it.
478,
7.
700. What's the 380,000 from the general fund that we didn't fund?
Mainly, I think it has to do with the police fencing. Give me-
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And the cultural plaza turf.
Got
The-
it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
what was that last?
Landscaping turf.
That we didn't want to put turf at the cultural plaza.
So it's not that it's unfunded. We didn't approve the projects.
Correct, right.
Maybe next time we just don't put them as unfunded if we didn't approve the project.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because
Okay.
that just makes it seem like we approved it, but there's no
Right,
funding.
but there's no money. Yeah, we should take that out.
Every meeting we get better and better.
I know, right? So instead that, I mean, you could just rewrite the column as not approved. Could we do that?
CIP not approved, yeah.
CIP not approved. So then the 2.7 for the sewer fund.
That
Was approved.
Becomes 0.
Become 0. It was.
Oh, right.
Right.
Okay, so the only thing is the fence. Okay.
And the beach fund for the turf
Mhm.
at the beach that we didn't approve.
Okay. Yeah, that's easy. You don't have to change the thing, just the column title. Look at us working together.
Okay. And that is it from my presentation. If you guys have no further questions, I will go ahead and I'll turn it over to Pete from Stantec and he will walk you through the cost allocation. And then David and Nick, I believe, will start the financial analysis afterwards.
Okay.
They're not here, they're on.
They're all
They're on-
Zoomies.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
What sort of? It sounds like you're in a tunnel.
Oh, well, I don't know what to do about that. Maybe it's my fan. Hold on 1 second.
Like you have 2 microphones on or something. That'd be bad.
Is that any better?
That would happen.
Try again. Introduce
Oh.
yourself and we'll tell you if it sounds okay.
How about that? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Peter Napoli. I am a senior manager with Stantec, and I'm going to be presenting just a few quick slides summarizing the results of the indirect cost allocation. I was responsible for leading that charge on that component of the study, and then I'll be turning it over to Dave to go over the other components of the revenue sufficiency analyses. So with that, we'll start. I don't know who's controlling the slides. I think maybe Angela, but okay. Here's my first slide. So what is an indirect cost allocation? Essentially, the indirect cost allocation distributes the overhead costs that live in the general fund budget to the benefiting enterprise or special revenue funds within the city. So
Peter, can I just stop you for 1 second? Mr. City Manager, do you think we can get a copy? Is this in here? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't go far enough in the book. All right, I found it. Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So essentially, the departments that benefit other funds but are housed within the general fund budget. So things like finance, purchasing, HR, commission, manager, etc. There is a industry standard for allocating these costs amongst the citywide benefiting funds. And it was time, the city identified it was time to update your indirect cost allocation, review how it was being allocated, and provide recommendations on new updated allocation amounts to incorporate into the budget.
Excellent.
So off to the right there just lists out some of the allocation methods that we use in that gray box. But in the middle on the yellow box, we're basically saying that your current allocation was just based on budget. So the budget of the electric fund, the budget of the sewer fund, et cetera, was used as a percentage of the overall city budget to allocate costs previously. And then we're offering refinements and a more specific allocation method for some of those departments. Both ways are justified, but this is kind of a more advanced and more accepted procedure around the state. So we're using a mixture of budget and employees, and then direct allocations that came from a department interviews, and then weighted allocations across all departments. So those are the methods that we use. And then in the next slide, I'll show you how we applied them to the different departments that we allocated. So starting with the internal auditor department or division, cost center, if you will, we use the budget to allocate this cost. And then we can reveal the next one. Human resources, public
Next
services,
slide.
admin. No, just the next component
Oh,
of this.
okay.
Hold
Human
on, I'm
resources.
sorry.
No,
Public
I think we
services
do need to be
admin.
on the
Yeah,
next one.
I'm sorry, this, it's not reflecting on the screen in here. Is the screen being shared?
Oh yeah, on the shared screen, I can see the right slide, but I can see in your video that you have the first slide. So that's odd.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe unshare and share again.
Okay, one second, I'm sorry.
Julian. Julian. There he is.
Hey, Angela, just letting you know, we're gonna control the slides, so just let us know when to move forward.
Okay, I'll give you a cue too. Thank you, Candace.
Okay, thank you.
So you can move forward to the next slide.
1 second.
Okay.
Finance is asking for a little bigger allocation if you really want the slide moved forward.
Okay, I think we have it now.
Okay, yeah, I can pick up where I left off. So in the blue there, it shows where we applied the number of employees or number of full-time equivalents that are housed within each of the enterprise and special revenue funds. That number was used to allocate departments like human resources, public services admin, and then public services custodial. We can move to the next allocation. The finance allocation was a more in-depth method where we actually went through each of the activities by staff member within the finance department and then estimated their time spent on each of the enterprise funds. So there's a lot of different finance activities, and depending on the activity, they may spend more time supporting one enterprise fund versus another. So there's a more special in-depth allocation method that we used for the finance department. The weighted allocation, these are the departments that you can't really use a direct allocation method for allocating costs. So the best possible use is a weighted scenario. So based on the weighting of the budget allocation, the employees, and the finance allocation, we applied the overall weighted allocation to things like the city commission, manager, city clerk, city attorney, and then some additional expenses like ClearGov's and the ADP subscription pricing. And then there was one more, the Community Sustainability Admin Department. Based on an interview with their staff, we identified that the utilities and the building fund benefit, but the other funds, I believe the golf course and the beach, were excluded from their allocation because they didn't receive a direct benefit from that staff cost. This screen here shows the updated results versus your previous year's allocation and the difference or change by department or by enterprise fund that's affected. So this is the amount that they would budget. The electric fund budgets as an expense, and the general fund would budget as a revenue. So the updated allocation for electric went to 2.7 million, water went to 1.4 million, local sewer to 419,000, regional sewer 576, stormwater 349, and then golf course up to 190, refuse up to 586, beach up to 397, and then building up to 218. So overall, there were decreases in some funds, there were increases in others. And when we go to the next slide, you can see the combined result is a net decrease in the general fund reimbursement based on the updated allocations, based on identifying a few departments that we removed from being allocated. We identified there was no direct benefit. There may have been indirect benefits, but you want to be on the conservative side with these allocations. So the updated general fund reimbursement amount is about 6.8 million. That's down by about 1.3 million from the previous reimbursement. And this is already all incorporated into your budget. It's incorporated into the financial forecasts that are going to be presented after this. So yeah, this the chart on this page just kind of shows it in a different manner visually for you to see. The gray is the previous allocation, the black is the updated allocation based on our study. And that's the conclusion of the slides that I had for you, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand exactly what we did. We had a procedure for allocating that was I guess by proper procedures nationally recognized, but it was also recognized that there are other approaches, which is the gray box on the first slide, allocation methods. If I understand that gray slide correctly, there's a variety of methods, or there are a variety of methods, and this slide doesn't have a number, but it's the second one that's got red and blue and green and black and gray on it. If I understand that slide correctly, we apply different methodologies to different departments. Is that correct?
That's correct, based on the nature of those departments.
So the skeptic among us might say that this is a fairly subjective process. If one said, okay, I'm going to pick a methodology and I'm going to apply it across the board and crank the numbers, whether it's employees or building space or whatever it is, crank the numbers, one size fits all on the algorithm, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out, then you could argue that that was pretty objective. But given that we chose different methodologies for different departments, it, to me, leaves open a little bit that you know, there is no 100% right answer. You noodle around and pick the methodologies that get you to where you want to be. And I know that it's been a concern of Mr. Liberty for a long time that he felt the electric utility was overpaying for the services. I don't have a opinion one way or the other on that. I'm aware of his concern, and I see that the big changes were electric and water. I guess what I'm looking for is a bit of a defense of how did you or whoever came up with the choice of methodologies. Could somebody else come along and use different methodologies and come up with, essentially the same thing we did in 2026, or we move it quite differently? How do I get convinced that this was a very objective process and we're now better, other than Vaughn and Mr. Liberty are very happy now? Because it helped them out.
Yes.
Not that I object to that, but I just like to understand better.
Yes, sir. I understand your point, and I would say that I would say that it's actually more commonplace in the state to use this approach, where there's different methodologies applied to different departments based on the nature of the department. To use a one-size-fits-all, like just budget allocation for all departments, is less common in my experience. When we're updating these allocations, it was an older approach where I think in some cities where it's been a number of years since they've looked at this, you may find that methodology or approach still active. But in cities that have kept their internal cost allocation programs up to date, they use more of this approach, where you're looking at each of the divisions or departments that are benefiting the enterprise funds and then applying an allocation methodology that best fits the nature of their operations and their service, so that the reflection of the cost is proportional to the benefit that those departments or enterprise funds are receiving from those services.
And then a question. Thank you for the clarification that partly it's what we were using is an older approach that some cities have moved away from. I would point out that the biggest changes all were related to our enterprise funds, which many cities don't have those funds. So the other changes were fairly minor. And I suspect that a lot of places don't deal with both a local and regional sewer. That we're a little unusual on that one too. I've been corrected, very unusual, which I'll accept the correction. I guess my question for the folks who look out for the general fund here, we took a little bit of a hit. Are we fully comfortable with that? The assertion is the funds that had their costs reduced felt that they weren't getting quite as much service as they were paying for. I would think that might be somewhat of an objective, opinionated situation that there might be more than one opinion on.
Right. So this was the first time we've ever done a cost allocation study. Prior to this, we were just using whatever schedule we had when we got on board. So we wanted to make this official. We've never had a cost allocation study before. And we wanted to have a third party to conduct this cost allocation study based on best practices. And this is the result of that. And the numbers that you see, those decreases, they're already incorporated in the general fund. And
Right.
we're pretty much balanced. I think we're in a good spot.
More what I understand that they're incorporated. The budget that
Yes.
we've gone through the first three meetings
Right.
reflects this reduced general fund contribution.
Correct.
And we didn't dry up and blow away, so I guess that's good.
Yes.
There might have been some things we might have funded if we had another 1,500,
Correct.
1.5 million.
Yes.
But we didn't. I guess I'm looking for some sort of reassurance from somebody that we're pretty comfortable with.
Yes, we are.
All right.
We're pretty comfortable.
I don't think they would present it to us like this if they weren't comfortable with it.
Well,
We just wanted to be fair, basically, to all the other departments, because yes,
And we've heard that actually from people in the past where, yeah, it's equitable, not equal, equitable. Their chair. Okay. Mr. Segrich.
I think it's great. It's exactly what we asked for. It makes logical sense. And very excited that we were able to do this. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Does anybody else smell something with burning, like heat?
I don't smell it. as
You're the
much
one
now, but,
sitting next to the wine cooler. Maybe it's that thing.
Yeah, we both, I don't know what it was, but it smelled smoky. I don't smell it as much as anymore, so maybe it went away.
Okay. Let us know if you feel like you're in danger. Okay. What's up next? We are going to do,
Next would be the financial analysis also from Stantec.
okay.
All right.
Now we've
So-
got David.
Yep, that is me.
All right. Hi, David. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you guys were waiting for through our other budget meetings, I sincerely apologize. We have come to the conclusion that we're going to have a specific Stantec day of the budget so that you don't have to wait around those days. So, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. It's always helpful for us to gain an understanding of what's going on. But
Yeah, but it's a
I
lot.
appreciate that.
And we only have to pay you for one day too.
Yeah. All right. Well, pleasure to be here. We're going to go through the integrated financial sustainability analysis. And so first, we're going to talk about the enterprise funds. Not a lot of background on each fund. We're just going to jump right into the numbers, but we'll go through the electric fund, water and local sewer. We're going to talk about the sustainability analysis as well as cost of service. So I'll talk about how we've allocated cost and looked at your rate design. And then we have some recommendations in terms of the actual rate structure. And then we'll look at the stormwater fund, refuse, and then wrap up with the governmental funds. Oops, and I just realized I am not on the agenda slide, but now I am. So this is our agenda. So first off, on the electric, for each of the funds per the direction from the commission last time, we've now shown what the prior rate plan was. So just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, when we're looking at these panels, we've essentially got up at the top on each of them what the adjustments to the rates or fees or charges would be. This is what we talked about last year, was a 6%, 5%, 5%, 5, 3, and then kind of a step down in the future years. This gives you the impact to the typical residential bill at 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. And so that's the monthly bill. And then down at the bottom, we have all of our kind of diagnostics. And the one that we've typically focused on is a working capital fund, where we're trying to maintain at least 6 months in the fund. And so with this plan, because of the cost decreases and some efficiencies in expenditures in the electric fund, if we were to keep with the plan we talked about last year, we would essentially be slightly above the target by fiscal year 29, just about at the target in fiscal year 28. Down at the bottom, just a reminder in terms of the capital, we've got kind of the last component of the SHRIP, which is about $45 million, which is going to be debt funded.
Could
So
I
that, yes.
bother you for a quick one? Could you real quickly on the expenses by type graph remind us PS, OMV, OMF? At one point, that I know, but the others I don't remember.
Yep. So PS is personnel services. OMV is basically operating costs that are variable. So that would be like purchase power, things of that sort. OMF would be operating costs that are more fixed. And then you obviously do have debt service, and then there's any transfers out would be the transfers to the general fund.
And which we just addressed. And say again what PS was. I heard personal services.
Personnel.
Personnel. All right.
Sorry.
That sounds more sensible.
Staff. Staff. Yep.
Staff. And one other question on the working capital fund. is there a reason, and I realize it's a ways out, but one could imagine that after year 29, one might say, well, we're doing pretty well. We're building up. We've met our 6 months target. Why don't we back off a little bit and just sort of that the bar is rising, tip that down a little bit. I mean, it's probably not a bad idea to have a bit of extra, but it doesn't need to keep going up that way. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, certainly. And this is the plan from last year.
Okay.
Flip over.
Yes, now I
And this
see.
this is the current proposed plan, given the efficiencies, given
Exactly my question, and you're
Yep.
way ahead of it. Thank
Yep.
you.
Your question, and as well as Director Liberty's a little concern, and just in terms of trying to keep competitive with Florida Power and Light. He doesn't. He'd like to keep it, if possible, at those 3% increases. So this would push things out a little bit further. We wouldn't hit the target until 30, and then we would maintain just above the target.
Right. And I imagine that this proposed plan, which moves it out a little bit further, that reaching the 6 months target, there's a benefit to reaching the 6 months target in terms of borrowing. Maybe it doesn't apply because the borrowing is going to happen in 27 rather than 29 or 30 or 31 anyhow. But and then we're also trying to balance that we would like to stay under FP&L if we our blue neighbor, if we can.
Correct.
Do you have any thoughts? Is my analysis that given that the big borrowing is 27 and then pretty much no borrowing after, so then we don't need to worry about the bond aspect quite as much, and it's kind of okay to slide out a year or two?
Yeah, historically, the rating agencies and issuing the debt has been, demonstrated ability or, commitment from the commissioners to adjust the rates, which you've certainly done. And you kind of have a path to reach that level. So it always helps to have cash. I mean, they like to see so many days cash on hand. And I think that trajectory towards that 6 months would get you there. But I'm not sure if Davenport and Company would argue that if you were at the target now, you'd get a better rating. I think they would. I probably can't opine on that, but I think you're correct in terms of the overall trajectory is what they're going to be looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Segrich.
Thank you. Just kind of a quick, just I guess procedural or just structural kind of question. The current proposal rate plan slide, that is reflective of what we had approved in the budget process, basically? Or are we looking to make changes at this point?
No, I think if I recall the first workshop, I think we had stated that we'd prefer to keep the rates from last year so we could hit the target as fast as possible. And it's just this slide is just something that was requested from the Ed Liberty so that he could show, just to show you based on his proposed rates where we would end up at the 3%.
So which one are we doing? The first or the second?
We would like you get to choose. That's what we need. We would need consent. If you can, we would need consensus from you guys.
Got it. So
Yes.
just structurally, as we go through this, the first slide that we're seeing on each of these is what is in
the prior year.
Okay, the prior year. But so like with this one, that's also what is in our current budget as it exists, correct?
Is a budget. Right. Isha, what's in the budget increase? What's in the current budget increase? What rate do you have in the budget?
I need you to come in and speak to the microphone, please.
Keisha McNish, Budget Manager for Electric Utilities. I think the question that you're asking me is that what we're suggesting in the budget? And in the budget, I believe we suggested 5, but Ed is pushing towards on the lower end of
I think
3%.
the question was, what are the go ahead, Anthony, you ask it. It's your question.
Which of these charts reflects what we have in our budget as approved right now? I think the answer is neither.
Repeat that again.
Which of these charts reflects
It would
the
be-
rates that we have approved as of now in our budget?
I believe in our budget that we presented for FY27, we were more so on the 5%, if I'm correct,
Okay. So
if I recall it correctly.
if that is correct, then neither of these charts represent what we have in our budget right now.
Oh. Bear with me 1 second.
Well, no, the 5 one does.
It says 6.
It's 6. Okay. Then I stand corrected. Then it would be 6.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
6%.
page 1, as we go through these charts, page 1, this is reflective of what is actually in our budget as approved.
Yes.
Okay. So for
Yes, sir.
each of these funds, as we go through them, that's the case?
It's a really excellent question.
It may be different for each, I don't know. That's a Stantec question.
Hey,
Hey,
Dave.
David, I think this is important.
Yeah, my understanding, and I'm sorry if there's confusion, maybe it's just on the electric fund, was that the second slide is essentially what's being proposed and should be in the budget for this particular year.
When you're saying proposed, it should be in the budget. One was proposed and the other one should be in the budget. Then we have two different numbers.
Correct.
How do we know that if we bring the rate down to the 3% increase, how do we know that we will have enough money to cover what you guys want? Is Ed saying that he is sure that we can't with this 3%?
Correct. So originally the directive that we were given was to look through our budget and make sure we made to look at our budget and see what we could cut down. Because originally the directive is that we do about 10, and don't quote me, I think it's 10 to 13% below. We look at each of our funds and make sure our expenses were down. So for electric, and I'm pretty sure with the other departments and other divisions, we looked at what we could cut our costs and looked at what we were spending and where we weren't spending in all the divisions. And the conversation was, Ed wanted to stay, as Stantec is stating, is that we wanted to stay below competitive with FP&L. So originally the budget was set at 6 as we went through, but we looked at it as more so towards the 3 is where Ed is pushing that. Which we were told that we did do that. Remember when the directive, the Commissioner
So
Dice?
What you put in, what's in the budget can be covered with the 3% increase.
Correct.
Okay. Does that help, Anthony?
But
And I-
I wasn't asking
okay, so
specific to the electric utility. I'm asking what is the data that we are being presented? So my issue is we should be being presented with, this is what you guys agreed to. This is the financial forecast based on that.
But
And which of these
we
slides?
haven't gone through these Stantec models yet.
No, the Stantec models are future forecasting, but we have went through the budgets and the rates and
Okay.
I guess from our perspective, we are demonstrating that with the 3%, with the budget, that we're gonna generate
yeah,
cash
I'm
flow
not
surplus.
I'm not even there
So-
yet. I'm just trying to
Sure.
understand which
Yes.
which of these graphs.
So the prior year rates is what you have in your budgets.
Okay.
Yes,
So page 1,
Is-
that's what we're looking at.
correct.
Page 2 is
The proposed.
we're saying, hey, we can change these things and our budget is going to be safe.
Correct.
We're okay with that. So if you guys want to, you can adopt page 2.
We just wouldn't have as much overage.
We just won't have as much overage.
Right. And then it will take us an extra,
Or the graph.
extra
will-
year.
It's
Correct.
I'm assuming it's going to be different for each fund, but I just want to
Right.
make that perfectly clear that, okay, so our baseline that we're starting with is page 1.
Okay.
Page 2 is what we could choose. It's
Right.
not going to ruin our budget.
Right.
It's just going to give us
It'll be
a
it'll
different
be a more
future
less
financial outlook.
conservative.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
just my commentary to this for my colleagues. I do see a lot of financial headwinds coming down. I am more of a fan of sticking to our plan of let's get the fund up to its 60% sooner rather than later.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. Sorry. The 6 months sooner rather than later. So I'm more of a plan with staying with what we have. Because right now the PCA is not doing too well, right? We just had to up that. Our storm fund is growing, but it's not there yet. I'd much rather keep this momentum to get us up to that 6 month line faster.
Okay. Is this one of those screens where you can change the numbers and we can watch what happens?
Mm-hmm.
What if we
Yeah.
put in, so 6 and 3 are 3 away from each other. What if we split the baby and put 4.5? And just
Mhm.
because that's what we're doing. I don't know. I'm just,
So-
if we can hit it and if we can find a compromise,
Correct.
then that for me is always the best thing.
David, do you want to,
Yeah,
share?
Are you guys okay with that? Just to see it? Yeah.
Yes.
I just have to have my colleague Nick share his screen. He'll pull it up
Okay.
here real quick. Can you pull it up, Nick?
I mean, I think.
I just want to see it, see how quickly we can hit that 6 months.
Sure, and right with the first page, we hit 6 months in year 29. With the second one, we hit it in year 30.
Right.
So, you're not going to move it very far. I agree with the general goal that sooner that we get to the 6 month cash reserve is better. Although I would like to hear something before we make our final decision from the Davenport folks, given that Davenport, the bond people,
Knowing that,
guess?
he's probably already talked to them and made sure that it's not going to affect that. I mean,
Well, he mentioned that David mentioned he didn't want to opine on that, but I think we should hear from, before we finally choose the one, is it going to likely to make any difference to that? My guess is no, because one of them gets there in 29, one gets there in 30. We're borrowing the money 2 years before that. So, kind of.
well, let's just see what it is at 4.5 and then we can go from there.
And I think the big differences between page 1 and 2 is not so much what we do right now, but what we do in out years. And I think we probably all agree that we don't need to do page 1 where you're going way above the 6 months.
No, and I honestly think that we change this every year anyway. So anything past a year from now, we're going to have different people sitting up here anyway. So we really want to look at within the next, I like the 10-year out, but we're not making a 10-year decision. We're making maybe a 1 year definite decision and possibly 2 after that, just to prepare us. At least that's my opinion.
So we've got it. I just need Melissa, could you make it so that Nick Giuliano can share? Doesn't seem like he has that capability right now.
So I've tried to promote him to panelist numerous times.
There's 2 Nick Giulianos.
Yeah, I don't know why he's on twice.
Hmm.
Okay, now he's rejoining as panelist, so he should be able to share. Nick, now that you're a panelist, see if you can share. Because sometimes a thing pops up about like multiple people sharing, but nothing's popped up.
Yep. All right. I should be sharing
Oh, yeah,
now.
now it says your screen. I think you have to be a panelist. I think we're good now.
Okay. All right. So is everybody able to see my screen?
Yep, we can see you.
And Nick, you need to make 28.5% if we're going to stay with the prior. It needs to be 5, 5, 5. And then 30 goes to 30's at 5, and then 31 goes to 3, and then 2. And now if you run that.
Yep. All right. So this is now fully calculated with that plan that we just talked about.
We can't hear you, Nick.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is fully calculated now.
Can you scroll it down a little so we can see the top of the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Yep. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah. So the only thing he changed is next year.
Was the first year, yeah. Dropping it from 6 to 4.5
We still
instead
get
of
it at
dropping it to
29.
3.
We don't get as.
Yeah, you were going over it a little bit last time in 29.
Oh, it's hard to look at it when you don't have the same scale. Okay. Going over it in 29 versus hitting it in 29.
Now you're just hitting it. Yeah.
It really honestly doesn't look that different. Right. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't look
Yeah,
that
it's not.
different.
I'd say just continue. I would move for 6%.
You want to keep the 6? Anthony wants to keep the 6. Chris, what about you?
I would drop it down a little. I'd probably drop it to 5.
I would just rather be 6 right now to be safe. And then you can always come back 8 months from now and drop it.
Yep. Actually, can we adjust the rates in the middle of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, electric we can.
Oh, electric we can. So we have 2 for 6, 1 for maybe 5. Why don't we just keep it at 6 and we'll go from there?
Oh, we just need a consensus.
Okay,
Yes.
consensus. So,
Consent to 6.
Yeah,
I don't
consent-
consent to 6, but
okay, so 3 to 1. That's a consensus. And we can come back and see how it goes. I mean, sure. And we know Ed, and if he had a reason for this, next time he's here, he can explain it to us. If we need to change it, we can change it.
Yep.
But right now, before we hear that, I think we stick with the plan that we came up with before and we move forward. So let's do water.
Especially given that the storm fund is still a baby storm fund.
Right.
As much cash
That's
as we
true.
can have right now in reserves.
Cash on hand. All right. So water.
Good to go underwater.
Uh,
So it, oops, sorry. Moving
Can
too
you put
fast
your
here.
light up there so I can see it? Because it's hiding behind your mic. There. I know. I just want to make sure I can see it if he does.
the only thing before we did go to the
Well, I thought
water.
maybe if he wanted to talk, he's gonna put it on.
uh,
Go ahead.
I love the understatement.
Right.
The only thing I would note is the slide is, yeah, that slide,
This one?
exactly.
Yeah.
If we do the 6, do you happen to know off the top of your head? I'm guessing that's going to put us either at the same as FP&L or maybe slightly above, and I would be cautious about that. It's worth a lot for us to be able to say we're below, even if it isn't very much below, but
No, you're
below
not
is.
wrong. Does this?
And I know they are, Commissioner Malega correctly points out, they're a moving target also, but I think they only move once a year. If I'm not mistaken, in January. So I would be cautious,
Okay.
get somebody to check that one.
All right. So we want to make sure that we're still below FPL. David or Nick, do you guys know what if FPL has already made their increase this year and if we will still remain below?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can get back to
Jason?
you on that.
Okay. We have an internal gentleman, guru.
All right, good afternoon. Jason Bailey, Assistant Director of System Operations. I don't want to speak on Mr. Liberty's behalf, but I think there may be some confusion here with that first chart. That first chart was showing what the prior year's plan was. That was the plan we had made last year. This current plan with 3% allows us to stay just beneath FPL and meet all of the requirements of the budget.
So the 3%.
The
is
3%,
kind of
that's
you're
that's the current proposal, the 3%, which keeps us just a little bit under FPL and meets all the budgetary requirements.
So given that information, I think we should stick with that. That's what the utility is proposing.
That is the current proposal on the table to stay competitive with our neighbor.
Yeah.
For 1,000.
If you go to that today, I don't, but if you go to that next slide where it's in there, that was June's, I believe. And you can see where they're right there in the orange. So they're just slightly above us.
Yeah, this is July. This is the latest we could find.
Yeah,
So they're
they're-
still slightly above you.
Correct.
Probably 141. And yeah, I don't think we want to move. I think we'll pop right above that. Well, actually, you can figure it out. Well, let's figure it out. It'd be
Uh-huh.
162.
Yeah, but that value for us though is our current.
That would move us.
It's adding the 3%.
Okay.
And we can, if we could get a pin in this for, a final quick phone check with Mr. Liberty on the 3 versus the 6.
You want to
But-
call him right now? Phone a friend?
Well,
The 4.5%. How could you?
Ask
phone a
him-
friend and
ask
see
him
how he
about
would feel
4.5.
4.5%?
all right. So 3 or 4.5. That's what you guys are looking for.
I think, I know that I would like to go a little more conservative and go 4.5 if we're not going to do the 6.
Okay.
But I do want to, I'm conscious of.
And I would like to know, does he feel like if we had
I'll
a
get-
storm or if we need anything? I mean, obviously I'd rather charge customers less.
Absolutely.
So if he really feels we're okay, then we just need to hear.
I'll get a final number from him.
Okay. And wait, Anthony, do you have a question for Jason before he makes that call?
Well,
Or do you want to
I
comment?
was just going to say, I understand the optics of wanting to remain below FPL, but that's all it is, optics. If we're talking about, don't shake your head. That's all it is. It's
No,
optics. It's a marketing piece.
I've been dealing with this.
Mr. McFoy, I'm speaking. Thank you. If we are interested in truly maintaining a healthy fund balance, getting it to that 50% sooner rather than later, and having cash on hand in the event of a storm because of our storm fund being lower, then we make a decision based on that. To me, I don't care what FPL charges. I care what is best for our electric utility. So I am in favor of taking the conservative approach, sticking with what we had, so that we get to that balance quicker. And so I understand the optics of wanting to be below FPL. I do. The reality is, as soon as you cross that 1,000 kilowatt threshold, everything changes. Everything changes, and these numbers are meaningless for a good portion of our residents and households, because a good portion of our residents and households are well above 1,000 kilowatt hour.
Not true.
It's the average, Mr. McBoy. So if you could stop interrupting, we can get through this. An average means there's people above and people below. So I'm in favor of just keeping it conservative.
Okay, so you want 6%. Okay, do we want to have call Ed, or do you want to make our numbers now? Because I'm ready to go with 3. Because I
would
think
stick
that
with
I would like
Okay.
to follow what we have a director for a reason. He's proposing that, and I think we should listen to him.
Yeah, I apologize. He's out of the office today, but he has the intimate knowledge of this.
Yes, he does.
And I want to check in with him first.
Yeah.
That is correct.
I'm just concerned that if we have to come back 6-8 months from now for an increase, I'd rather go back 6-8 months from now and do a decrease. That's my thought. But knowing.
Let me get
I
his
wouldn't-
his answer. And
I'm just, you are the.
I'm sorry. No.
Not saying to them, you are the professional, and obviously you guys have given this thought, so I will take Mr. Bailey and say, yes, I'll stick with the 3%.
Let me get you guys answers.
You don't need to call him. So it's 3-1. We're going to stay at the 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's move on to water.
All right, so water, this one's a little bit simpler. We're just proposing and sticking with the prior plan. So last year we talked about a 4% increase in 27, and then 4% for several years. That's the current plan as well. So 4% adjustments. You
David,
can
please speak louder or into your
I'm sorry.
microphone. It's really hard to hear you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
Okay,
a little bit.
A little bit.
That's weird. Testing,
Okay, so
So
the
no-
there's no change in water.
no change. Nope.
O-
Prior
Okay.
years,
All right, do we
4%.
have consensus to keep water at 4%?
Consent.
Consent.
Yep.
Okay, good. Let's move on to local sewer.
All right. Local sewer, the prior plan was a 5% in 27 and then 3% in future years. The current plan is the same 5%, but we're recommending that in future years you consider a little bit higher increases, just given the pressures that we're seeing on the sewer fund, just staying just at the line in terms of
I
the cash
consent.
balance.
Yes.
5%.
Okay,
sewer
hold
needs-
on. Wait, hold on. We have a light.
Sewer
Anthony,
line.
go ahead.
So the one concern that I have with this is, given the condition of our sewer pipes and some of the reports that I've recently seen and stormwater. Is the strategy moving forward to when we're looking, it looks like there's a lot is it going to be we go out for bond for that and the fund's okay where it is, or do we have to start contingency planning knowing full well that when we get these new reports back that the pipes that were red before are probably either going to be red or beyond redder, it hasn't gotten any better. So
It has. Von Baker Water Utilities. So I would like you to keep in mind that I believe the reports you're referencing, which have been requested from our team lately, are from a while ago. And since then, we have been investing significant capital into rehabilitating pipes and manholes. So our current approach has been about 20,000 linear feet per year of gravity sewer to be lined and rehabilitated, as well as $300,000 worth, which has been more than sufficient to do groups of manholes throughout the entire year. I want to say last year we got a couple hundred manholes done. So the plan is to continue this borrowing, and the 20,000 at the current rate of pipelining is going for about $2 million. And the amount of poor condition pipe that we had assessed back in, I want to say 2019 or 2020, was a little bit over 70,000 linear feet. So we are progressing as planned. So, when you say things haven't gotten any better since then, they have, because we have invested capital into it and we plan on continuing to do so.
okay, so we're confident that when these new reports come back, the condition is going to be such that we don't need to be saving extra money now for when that stuff comes back.
Right. But also keep in mind that I think what you're referring to is sub-regional sewer. So that's a completely different budget.
Okay.
Okay, so are we good with the 5%
Consent.
Consent.
and Mr. McFoy?
Yeah.
Excellent. Moving on.
Okay, so let me just
Cost of
clarify.
study survey?
Yeah, cost of service is next. So
Cost
I
of
do want
service study. Cost of study service.
to.
I
Wow.
knew what you meant.
What we're proposing, just as we shift into the talk about the cost of service, is that we get 4% more revenue on water and 5% more revenue on sewer. And so what the cost of service study does is tells us, okay, where should we get that revenue? So the cost of service study, we've talked about financial plan. That's just what do we need on the system today and into the future. Cost of service looks at what does it cost to serve each of your different types of customers, residential, commercial, industrial, irrigation. And then how do you actually charge them? What's your rate structure? There's a fixed portion of their charges and then there's a usage portion. And so we've talked so far about the first step here, and now we're going to talk about the second and third steps, and it all feeds together. So just to highlight in terms of giving you a sense of your customer profile, this is the number of water counts that you have. About 80% of them are residential. You've got 11% that are multifamily, 9% are general service, which will really include commercial customers, and then about 1% are irrigation. In terms of the actual usage,
Is that the city's irrigation, like our own irrigation?
No, these are customers with irrigation meters.
Customers irrigation. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then to the right, we have the actual breakdown of annual use by each of those customer classes. So you can see that, while residential makes up about 80% of the customers, they only use about 50% of the water. Multifamily uses about a quarter, general service about 19%, and irrigation, even though it's 1% of the customers, they use a lot of water.
Commercial.
General services commercial?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Irrigation does use
I agree.
does use a lot of water. In terms of your customer, just looking at your customer profiles, when you think of your single family customers, this is just showing the cumulative usage. So once your cumulative number of accounts, so once you're at about 8,000 gallons per month, about 77% of your residential customers use that amount or less. And then once you're up to about 12,000 gallons a month, 90% of your customers use that amount or less. That's just showing you kind of the usage profile. And then to the right, I just have the average usage by account. So typical single family uses 6,000 gallons a month, multifamily per unit, 4,000, commercial or general service, 21,000, and then the irrigation customer uses about 48,000 gallons per month.
We need turf. Just
So
kidding.
that's the understanding of your customers. Then another component of the study is taking those total costs, which we call revenue requirements, and looking at where do the dollars go. On the water side, 11.2 million is for treatment, 6.3 is for managing the distribution system, about 2 million is for admin, about $1 million for billing, and then 0.7 million for supply. So that's the functional breakdown of the system. And then on the sewer side, most of it's treatment, about 8.3 million, 1 million for pumping, 3.2 for collection, and then the rest of the distribution.
What's the difference? And maybe this is a Vaughn question. What's the difference between collection and pumping?
Basically, collection would be our gravity system. So a lateral out of somebody's home or from a business into our gravity sewer system. Pumping is what it sounds like. It's pump stations and force mains.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So based on this functionalization, we looked at each of your customer classes and what it costs to serve them. And the next slide really shows the initial results here of looking at a test year. So if we say, what's our revenue requirement on the system and how much revenue are we getting from each of the customers? Ideally, we would be at 100% revenue recovery from each of the customers.
Wow, we're pretty close, actually.
You are, yes.
I mean, except for irrigation.
Yep, that was the key finding is irrigation is the one where you're slightly below, or I guess more than slightly below, a little bit below on residential, but the rest you're fairly close.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How do you know when I turn my sprinklers on versus when my washing machine's going?
It's separate. These are irrigation only, I think.
Correct.
There's an irrigation meter at my house?
Not everybody has one, but if you'd like to use potable water for your irrigation, what we offer is a specific irrigation meter that's separate from the meter that serves your house so that you don't have to pay the sewer fees.
Otherwise, people like me who use regular water and don't have that, we're clumped into the residential.
Right.
Correct? So it's those.
So wait, is it the people that have wells? Who are these irrigation people? Explain this to us. Who are these people?
If you are a customer and you don't have an irrigation well, but you want to use city water to water your lawn, what you would do is go to customer service and say that you want an irrigation meter because that prevents your water usage from being combined with the sewer fees. Typically, we base your sewer charges on your bill off of your water usage, but if you have an
Stuff that
irrigation
goes down the
meter,
drain versus
right?
Stuff that goes in the ground.
Yes, we don't charge for sewer on the irrigation meter.
And down drain, in ground.
Wait,
Got
my
it.
light's still on. I have questions. I've been here for 5.5 years. I've never heard this before. So I'm wondering how many of our residents don't know that that's an option and aren't using it. I don't have one.
Well, they're
And
about
I
to get
have-
a big raise in that
And I
bill
have,
anyway.
I have an irrigation system, so you can just request a different meter for the irrigation.
It's not as simple as requesting it. You
Wait.
do have to pay, the same costs of initiation for getting a tap, a meter, and capacity fees, which I think that's the biggest deterrent because it's a larger upfront cost, but it's not a cost that we're able to waive legally. So, if you are going to get a 1-inch meter, which is pretty typical for irrigation, the capacity fees are a couple $1,000s. So I think
That's
that
what deters
that's
people from doing it.
that's a deterrent. But if you think about it, it's not something that I look at as a bad thing because that's our high quality treated drinking water and other water can be used for irrigation. So it's a trade-off. If you want city water to water your lawn, that's fine. And we do offer that so that you don't have to pay for the sewer. But irrigation wells work just as well. And then you don't have to be involved with the utility for that.
So these customers that we're talking about, 61%, they have this.
1% of the customers, 61% of revenue recovery.
So we're not making enough money on
Right.
them.
So that's the only thing that we could adjust up. to be receiving, to make sure that we're getting our cost of service?
In Stantec's opinion, yes, that's the best way to make sure we're getting our cost of service.
Okay, thank you.
Before you,
And it is kind of nice that the cost of service is not too dramatic everywhere else.
Correct.
is it also true that if you want to do that, getting the separate meter, you also have to replumb your household water such that the irrigation is not connected to the normal rest of the house?
Not necessarily. Could either tap the main again to put that irrigation meter in, or you could tap your own water service line before the current meter. So it does require some adjustments, but essentially it would be the construction of a line from wherever you tap. Like I said, either the city, probably the city system, because most people have 3/4 inch meters. Yeah. And you want a 1-inch meter, so you don't want it to affect the pressure in your home. So you tap the city and then create a connection to wherever your current irrigation control system and pump is.
Yeah, it involves some replumbing to get that to work.
Yes.
In addition to the, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're here, and this might be for some other people too, is it possible that since we haven't had a lot of rain, that the wells are dry?
The production wells
No,
or
like
the irrigation wells?
At our houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because mine's not pulling any water out.
I had to get a new one at my own home last year and a half ago. Yeah.
I already did that. I already got the new one, and this one isn't even pumped. Okay. Anyway, moving on. What do you suggest we do?
All right. So as I mentioned, they're fairly closely aligned on most classes, just the exception of irrigation. So what we're suggesting, and this is kind of that third step, is where once we've completed the cost of service, we look at your rate structure. How do you actually charge for service? And I can say that we were really pleased with the structure that you have. You have a very modern and well-designed rate structure. Fixed charges, so what somebody pays, even if they don't use any water or sewer service, generate more than 30% of the revenue for each system. That's at the top end of the range that we typically like to see. Most utilities are in that 20 to 30% of the revenues are generated from fixed charges. So that's a good thing. The structure also does encourage the wise use of water. So you do have what's called an inclining block rate structure. So I'm going to just step through real quick to talk about your current structure. So at the top here, this is on the water side. You've got a customer charge. So this basically pays for customer service. It's the same regardless of the type of customer you are, whether you're a large customer or small. And then you also have a base facility charge. And this charge scales based upon your meter size. So if you're a large 4-inch meter, you would pay a substantially higher base charge. And that's just essentially reflective of the capacity demand that you can place in the system. Multifamily is charged this per unit, and then single family, most are going to be in that this $18 because they have a 3/4 inch meter, but those do scale. And then in terms of the actual water rates, you have, again, an inclining block rate structure. So the more water you use, you're basically stepped through these tiers. So if somebody's using 6,000 gallons, they pay for the first 4,000 at the $3.91. They pay for the second 2,000 at $6 and so on. Irrigation customers are charged at these higher rates that are shown here. Sewer side, you've got the fixed charges, and then you just have a uniform rate. There is a cap on residential usage, so you're not charged for more than 12,000 gallons on your sewer bill. Multifamily is 6,000, and then there is no cap for commercial. If you're in industrial and can demonstrate that you're not returning the water to the sewer system, you could have a 50% cap as well. So that's the rate structure. What we're proposing, given what we've seen, is that you should maintain your current fixed charges. So remember, I mentioned we wanted to get 4% more revenue on water, 5% more on sewer.
Right.
So we would propose to keep the fixed charges as they are, so there'd be no adjustment there, but that we would generate the additional revenue, that 4% on water, at the higher tiers, given the higher cost of meeting those max demands, and through the irrigation rates. And so essentially, this is on the water side what we're proposing. On the sewer side, the fixed charge stays the same, proposing increasing that sewage unit rate 5%, or it's actually 7% to generate the 5% more revenue because we're keeping the fixed charges constant. What this looks like, just in summary, is your typical residential customer uses 6,000 gallons per month. They would see a $2.90 increase, or 2.5%. And then if you use more, you can see it scales up more given the proposed adjustments. If you're an irrigation customer, again, the average uses about 48,000 gallons. They would see about a 12% increase. So that's the recommendation, that this would essentially align you with the cost of service, generate the additional revenue for both water and sewer, and it really kind of protects the small user. We're not increasing the fixed charges, and the lower usage rates are not adjusting.
I love it.
On the water side.
Anthony, go ahead.
Thank you. For the monthly fixed charges, would it make sense to break out the irrigation, considering it's only recovering 61%, and have that at a higher monthly fixed? Or are there so few customers that it really wouldn't make an impact, and why add another layer of complexity?
Yeah, I think it would, like, because they use so much water, it's more easily to direct it at the usage rate. And one of the nice things about your rate structure is that it basically treats everybody the same, but in that everybody, pays that fixed charge based on their meter size, and you get the scaling. So yeah, I don't know that because there are so few, that probably wouldn't move the needle in terms of that cost recovery.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. McFoy?
Just a clarification from probably Ms. Baker. If I remember right from a long time ago, the tiered structure plan for water, I believe it comes from a state law that we're required to do. I don't know if they've specified the numbers or the tiering, but I seem to recall, is that your? No.
That predates me, and I don't
it's
know
been
the
around
answer.
A long time. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. It says, it encourages you to conserve and look at your usage. At one time, I tried to get us to do that for electric on the same argument, but we didn't get anywhere. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it came out of a state thing, and yes, it's been around for quite a while. Is my recollection. So cool. Yes, I'm highly in favor of the
Okay, so do we have a consent?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for that presentation. It was made it so clear that it makes the decision making easy. So thank you. And Vaughn, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, David. And thank you all.
Well, I mean, it's gotta be cool. It's like you were confirmed that you were right on the track, right on the right track, right? The cost of service study. I mean, I think it's
cool.
Yeah, it's gotta feel good. Okay, so let's move ahead. Where are we now? Stormwater?
A quick last comment before we leave on the slide that's up.
Okay, go ahead.
It is a little concerning that we are at the high end of that slide, but in
We also
that
have the best
context,
water.
we have 50% reverse osmosis water, which is a good deal cleaner than everything else, which is why some other folks have looked to us from time to time for our water. So yes, it's a little bit on the high end, but it's also a better product.
Yeah, you can drink it from the tap.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that the water bill is not changing for your average customer.
No, that's great. Thank you. All right, let's go to sewer.
Sewer,
It's like sewer's going up.
It goes up by $2.90.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Wait, we did sewer. Now we're on, now we're on storm fund.
Yep.
Stormwater fund. Jeez.
Yep. We're on the stormwater fund. And this is what we had talked about last year, was 2.5% increase in the assessment. What was actually adopted, and this is, already been adopted, is a 7%, given the cost increases, the capital that needs to be accomplished.
Okay.
And so you did adopt 7%.
Okay, so this one's
notices have already
good.
gone out. Yep.
All right, moving on.
Shows you where you are. You're still kind of in the middle of the pack on the stormwater.
Yeah, we're all right.
And then on refuse.
Beach refuse.
Next is refuse. Yep.
So not beach refuge, it's Lake Worth.
But- oh my God,
Beach.
I am
Yeah.
dumb today.
No,
Yep,
I
just-
read the
You
same
read
thing
the
and I
same-
thought,
Nope,
Wow.
refuse fund.
Refuse. Sorry.
Yep.
We already did this one too.
Yep.
Okay,
you
good.
did-
Moving on.
You adopted 10 and we're thinking in
Beach.
future
I'm
years.
glad I wasn't the only one who read it
no, I
that
read
way.
it the same way.
All right, so
Thought-
now we're at
no.
recycling.
It's the same. So garbage and recycling.
All right, moving on. Love it.
All right, keep rolling. And this is the comparison on the commercial side. So we've talked about that.
Okay. Now we're at the beach fund, the Lake Worth Beach Fund.
Now we're at the beach fund. And so this is the prior rate plan that we had talked about last year.
Oh, this is parking. Okay.
Yep. The parking meter rate is the thing that we adjust here, and it's currently at $3.50 weekday and $4 on the weekend. We can see if we go forward with the trajectory that we had last year, we're showing by 2032, even with some modest increases in the parking fee, we would be dropping below that target.
All right, so we want to go up 50 cents is what you're saying.
Yeah, there was discussion that it's problematic to have different rates on the weekend and the weekday. And so, yeah, we're proposing 50-cent adjustment to the weekday parking for 27.
Okay. Sarah first, then Chris.
Thank you. How did you disseminate the fact that we want to give our residents a discount in the hourly?
In the what?
So in the hourly rate, with these projections, how do we know how many are going to be residents and getting a discounted rate versus what's published?
Carlos Bastos, Parking Operation Manager.
Wait, we can't. Right into the
Carlos
line.
Bastos, Parking Operation Manager. So this discount rate is through the Park Mobile app, the 20% discount that
So
we
this
issue.
includes the 20% residential discount. These numbers that Stantec is showing us.
Yeah. Yeah, the 20% discount, it's through the Park Mobile includes in that.
Is
Yeah,
included in these numbers.
correct.
So
It's
wait, I still have the report. Just hang on a minute. I will tell you that I went to West Palm Beach, just West Palm Beach recently to get my hair cut. And for an hour and a half, it cost me almost $9. That wasn't even at a beach. That wasn't even at the
Yeah.
beach. That was literally just on a street. Not in a fancy parking garage, but on the street. So if this is including the discount, so then if we go to $4, our residents are paying $3.80 an hour.
Correct.
And if we went to $4.50,
Yeah, but remember, you're usually there multiple hours. We don't want to price people out of the beach.
but no, the additional hours are cheaper. They don't pay
Yeah.
the rate.
No, it's per hour.
I don't.
Is it per hour, Carlos? If I go to the beach for 4 hours, I'm paying $16. Well, I'm
It's
not
per-
because I'm a,
It's per hour. Yeah, our rates
Yeah.
is per hour.
Isn't it when you wrote, I'm on the app right now, but as you add time, you don't have to add the hour block.
On the meters, well, on the Park Mobile, it does require you to do the hour block. On the meters, you could do it in increments.
That's
No,
not
we're
true.
taking
On
the
the Park
meters out.
Mobile app,
On the
I
Park-
can
You could do it by
increase
the hour,
and I can increase it for 30 minutes as well.
not on the mobile Park Mobile app.
Not for the beach.
Yeah,
Not
on the
for
meters
one
you can.
location.
Yeah, correct.
So we could change it on the app that we could do it that way on the app as well.
You could change it. Yeah,
I
correct.
would highly recommend that because if I'm laying at the beach with my kids and we're already settled in and I only need a half hour more, I don't want to make them go all the way up to the meter to add,
they can't, we're taking those meters out.
but
If
No,
we are,
but we could do it on.
we can
We
do it
can
on the
do it
mobile
on
app.
app, they can just rotate 15, I think it's by 15-minute
I
intervals.
think it's
that
you could do it in
use.
increments of 30 would be the best set. So we could talk to the vendor and see how
I
we can
think
do
that we
that.
need to do that.
We could look at that.
I think that that's important and the beach
So-
fund isn't a lot of, it needs,
There's also a rate
Okay.
comparison on the next page.
I see it.
So you want to look at it. My recommendation is that we at least keep as close to the county parks next door, Cruisela. They're $4
Right.
across the board.
Yeah, that should be the same. That would make sense.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be quiet because it's not my turn. So
Okay.
Sarah, are you done?
Yeah, I'm good, but yeah, can we get the increments to be added? That would help.
Okay, Mr. McFoy, then Mr. Segrich?
I think I heard something from David about a difficulty, and I might not be using the right word, of different weekday and weekend rates, which raised for me the more general question of varying time variable rates, whether it's time of day or day of the year or holiday or whatever. And I'm curious about the difficulty part, because my understanding of the app-based parking, which I believe we are moving away from the meters and to the app-based parking. A cool part about app-based parking is that you can program whatever you want into it, and it doesn't really cost anything. Now, you may have to badger the vendor a little bit to let you do it, but there's no significant cost for them, put a table in that says whatever.
Right.
And I would be very much in favor. I'm certainly in favor of what Commissioner Malega says, and I would make it 15-minute increments, not 30. And if the vendor says, well, we can't really do that, I would push back hard on them and say, yes, you can. It's possible other places. There's nothing weird about our beach that you can't make your software do it. And then I would think a lot about, and there's a name for it, and I don't remember what it is, demand-based parking or whatever. It's known in the parking world that you try to manage your parking by developing a picture of when it's busiest and charge a little more then and charge less when it's not. And I would be much in favor of us doing that. A question for you. How does Park Mobile know whether I'm a resident or not?
So for you to get the 20% discount, you just have to submit the documents to us online. Once we get those documents, we go in the back of the house and enter your license plate, register to the Park Mobile, and you get this 20% discount.
Can I do that when I'm parking at the beach, or is that something that I have to kind of like getting the parking decal? I got to come in or can I do it online?
Yeah, it's all online. You just have to submit the documents. So we verify that you're a Lake Worth Beach resident, and then we apply your plate to the Park Mobile back of the house, and then you get your discount.
Should probably do that.
That's a good idea.
Okay, cool. And is my description that we could, with a little pressure on the vendor, get him to do, a little bit
The increments?
more nuanced parking rates?
I'll
Is that
get with them.
doable?
Yeah, I'll work with them on that. I'm sure
cool.
they can.
Assuming that there's support from my colleagues, that's a good idea.
Okay, Mr. Segrich?
Thank you. One of the only considerations that I would throw out there, just on whether you do it via an hour versus 15 minutes, I think you'll be surprised at the amount of revenue that is generated by that hour versus, so many parking lots, that's where they see like a 20-30% increase in revenue because they go in hour slots versus 15. I do understand
I agree with you.
the argument over, hey, let's make it more convenient. But I think before we make a decision like that, see what it's going to do to these numbers, because this basically is funding our beach fund, right? And if we're looking down the road, there's an awful lot I think we want to do at the beach, and then there's an awful lot we have to do, right? Because erosion and the weather and the salt and things. So I would be hesitant to veer too far off this plan and add something like that right now without fully understanding what that's going to do, because I think it could have a significant impact in like the 20%, 25% range of revenue drop.
Okay.
Perhaps do some analysis first before we make
maybe
a
we
decision.
do some analysis, and we can always if we want to do 15-minute segments over here, no segments over here, we go for 30. We've got our compromise.
Right.
Ms. Maliga.
Suggest it too.
Thank you. So I'm on the app now, and if I go to Cruiser Park, it's $4.30
On
Park
this-
Mobile.
They're supposed to
Ours is $3.90, which means we're losing money.
with the 40%, 40 cents charge from Park Mobile.
Doesn't matter. I
But-
understand they're including their fee because you have $4 written here, but it's $4.30, and we have $4 written here, so it's $3.90. But Phipps Park is $10.40 an hour.
Yeah.
1 hour.
Well, the 40 cents goes to Park Mobile. It's always been $10. That's why no one goes to that beach.
That's astronomical to go to a beach. So I just want to make sure that, because when I first got elected, we weren't collecting the fee. We were taking the fee out of our parking hourly.
No,
So
the people pay the fee.
Yeah.
No, they do now, but they didn't.
Yeah, they do now.
I just want to make sure whatever we adjust, that we're adjusting it, that the
To
fee is
reflect the fee.
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
when it's $4, it's $4.40. So 10%. Wow, that's a lot. Imagine how much money they're making at 10% of each car parked. It's a lot. Okay. All right. So, go ahead, Chris.
I hear Commissioner Segrich's concern that the hourly probably picks us up some extra fees, and the recommendation that before we jump, we look before we leap and do a little research. My question would be for you, Carlos, would be, how do we know? The only way I could imagine to do that research is if 50% of our users go for an hour and a half, but they're paying for 2, then it's pretty easy calculation. If 90% of our users go for an hour and 50 minutes, then it's not a big deal. How are we going to know what the actual time that they were there to do that research?
Yeah, so there's a turnover on the spot, but also Park Mobile provide us with the dashboard that we could kind of analyze what's the average day and all.
But how do they, if somebody doesn't park in the same spot, and I forget, are the spots numbered? Are they?
No,
but they park by their
they're-
plate number.
they play
Right.
pay by play.
But so I park in spot number 820.
It's irrelevant.
with
You can move your
license
car
plate
75
X.
times.
I drive away, somebody else parks in 830. I don't know when I drove away. Mark Mobile doesn't know when I left. They only know what I
They
paid.
didn't know what you pay for. Yeah.
So I don't know how to do that
But
research other than making some
There's
assumptions.
all the mechanical, all the components in there. We could look at what's the average day and what that long period is.
That's the hitch. is that
staying
It's
there.
hard to do that research. I
We could look
agree
at
with
it.
the concern, but I don't know how we would get that number. I think the more important thing is make it the smaller increments more accurate to what people use. I think the public relations benefit to that is good. And if we need to adjust our rate a little bit up to make sure that we didn't have a big drop from one year to the next because we went to 15 minutes, that's how I would deal with that.
I would also bet that out-of-state plates stay longer than local plates anyway. So we're really giving the benefit to our locals,
Right.
because locals know that you can't lay at the beach for 4 hours. We're smarter than the average bear. When you get somebody who comes from Connecticut, they're like, oh, we'll be here all day. And they just,
And that's why they come up with like tourist trips.
Okay, so we're going to get consensus that we're going to go to the $4. Yes.
And
then-
consensus that we're gonna go to $4.
Hold on. So the $4 we're done with, and then we're going to go
$4.
weekend and weekday are both going to be $4. And
I think our weekend rate should be more.
so okay. So then right now we have weekend at $4. You think they should be $5?
I think they should be $4.50, $5. It's the weekend.
So my suggestion is that we keep the rates the same for the weekdays and weekends. Just programming wise, it'll work better.
I appreciate that, but programming I don't care about, because I could see what Park Mobile does for everybody else. And they can do that for us.
Well, they're already doing it because we're at 3.
When people pull in to go to our beach, they don't go to the app. They park in a spot and they pick the thing and they pay. They don't go, I'm going to park over here at Chrysler Park because I'm going to save versus over here. Tourists don't care. They're going to park in the first spot they find.
Okay, so
Well,
all right, so let's do this then. Okay, so if we're gonna do higher rates on the weekends, why don't we do $4.50 on the weekend? Anthony, are you okay with the 15-minute segments, or do you want to do 30? Personally, I think we should do 30.
If we're going to do it, I'd rather do 30. I think we should stay at the hour.
I'll consent for 30 and 450 on the weekends.
I'll raise you 5.
You want to go to 5 on the weekends?
No.
Oh.
I'll consent to the same.
Okay, so 450 on the weekends and
Wait,
half an hour segments. That's what's on the table.
Okay.
Going once.
My concern is it in our community not reasonable to us, or is it reasonable to assume that most of our community is working folks who work during the week and their chance to go to the beach is the weekend?
Yeah, there's
they
a
have the
resident discount that they could get to apply for. Yeah. They could apply for the
Yeah, I don't
discount.
think
resident.
this is a fight worth fighting for the
Most locals
minimal
don't,
amount.
we don't go to the beach on the weekend because we know what it's like.
Where is that?
Okay, so we're gonna consent, guys, to 450 and half hour blocks. Okay, excellent. We begrudgingly.
Begrudgingly, yeah.
Okay, we have them. What? Please don't put a not in this because we're moving on.
No, I just
Nope.
confirm it's $4 on the weekdays and $4.50 on the weekends
Correct.
with 30-minute.
In 30-minute increments.
And do I have consensus that Carlos will push on Park Mobile and investigate whether we can be even more variable in our rates to deal with demand-based parking?
We'll look
That we at
work
least
with them.
research
Yes.
I'll look into it.
and push them a little bit.
Golf
Okay.
fund. What?
All right.
Did we
golf
already
fund.
do the golf fund?
Nope.
All right.
Golf
Well, I
fund
know
is
we didn't do
next.
it today. I'm asking if we've talked about it yet. Huh? Did we do it?
We talked about it last time. I believe you guys wanted to see a rate comparison with different golf.
We wanted to talk about the capital improvements that were needed.
That's right. So we have here a 3% increase and a 5% increase.
Correct.
Where's our golf pro?
Well, we got
All
3.
Right there.
Is there anything else besides 3 and 5? But if you look at it, it goes 5, 5, 15, 15. So, but I don't want to look even more than 2 years out because that's irrelevant.
Vice Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yep.
Marty, how are you?
Good, how are you doing? Good to see
That
you.
wasn't the question though.
Sorry,
At the 5% with the improvements that we've just approved, do you think that that will continue to keep us competitive because you've been doing such a good job in increasing the tee times and the revenue? Do you think the 5% will keep us in line?
Well, the 5% is going to keep us in line competitively. We weren't going to make a bigger jump until we get the improvements done on the course to allow us to make that bigger jump.
So
Yeah, because we're on the lower end of the spectrum of rates.
So, but we just approved the irrigation system for this year's capital improvement,
And the
correct?
greens.
Yeah, we're in the process of doing the irrigate. We haven't done it yet,
So do you think that that will be done by 2028?
but that's going to, well, we're hoping to have it done this summer in 2027. That's
Then the
what we're
rates in
planning
28
for.
will be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Now the irrigation is just going to allow us to do the improvements to raise. We have to change the turf. We're going to, the course is going to look a little bit better with the irrigation. The point of the irrigation is to allow us to regrass the facility because we can't do it with our current system. Yeah.
Correct, I understand that.
Yeah.
So, but at the 5%, you think we're still competitive and we're good?
But we're
Yeah.
not-
5%. We're going to stay competitive.
That's
Yeah.
all I wanted to hear. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Do we have consent? All right. Moving on. Crap, sorry. Mr. McVoy, do we have consent? He's shaking his head. Okay, moving on.
All right, last fund is the general fund. And we've got 4 scenarios to look at. So the first scenario is just a forecast. Baseline.
Oh, this is the millage.
Yeah, yep. The millage. No CIP is funded under this scenario. And there's no reflection of the property tax reductions given the proposal in the state. And so this is just the baseline. And obviously, given the anticipated cash in the fund and the cash out, you would essentially be building cash balance under this baseline. But again, it doesn't include any capital. So that's just setting the stage. The next scenario is if we include the proposed property tax decrease, which
You mean Amendment 3?
yes, correct. Yep. That would result in a property tax decrease in 28 of about 2.9 million, and then in 29 of 4.3 million. And then we're assuming that would continue to escalate at 3% per year. Again, no capital funded in this scenario. You'd basically cash in and cash out, we're anticipating would be equal. And so you'd maintain basically the cash balance within the fund. So with the amendment,
Between scenarios 1 and 2, because scale.
Is it?
Sorry.
I
Between
hate when they
scenario
do that.
1 and 2,
I hate
the
when they do that.
working capital balance, it's 100 million on that one. And it's 40 million full screen.
Yeah, but that's assuming that we don't change the rates. We're not spending anything. And we're getting the increase in the property values.
Yeah,
So this is like a dream. This
Right.
is not happening. Let's move on. Okay, so
yeah, so this is with the amendment, but no CIP. And then now this is if we fully load the CIP that's been identified.
do
And
you
we
have the one where it would be the baseline with the CIP for this year? Because it
without,
just goes to property tax. But what if we're not looking at the property tax? We're just looking at this year's fund, but we actually pay for stuff.
yeah, we can run that. I can have Nick run that scenario. Because we basically stepped it through to say baseline property tax decrease with the CIP. And then, and I know it gets complicated, this would now be the property tax decrease. Assuming you do some expense reductions to maintain the fund balance, how much would be available for CIP is essentially the bottom line. So if the property tax with the amendment goes through, you see those reduced property tax revenues, you'd have to cut basically about $3 million a year, $3 million in 28, which would then, that would stay out of the budget. And that
Okay.
would leave you basically the ability to do $3.2 million in capital each year and maintain the cash balance. But we can run different scenarios.
So basically, if we wanted to keep on track with our road plan, we would have to bond it.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so that's something that we can message. Mr. Segrich.
So is scenario 3 basically the closest to the reality of what we've already approved in the budget, and it just includes the property tax reform?
No, that's 28.
Which one of these scenarios?
Scenario 3 would be
actually-
if we decide,
That's why I asked for it.
yeah, scenario 3 would be if we decide to fund the roads out of the general fund. So we'll basically just go under in 2 years, 2-3 years, give or take.
Okay.
Yep.
So based on this, if we were going to continue to fund the roads, we'd either have to do bond, or how much is there a cost cutting number, or is it that's not a possibility?
Yeah, we would definitely have to go off a bond. I mean, we're talking about an $80 million tag price. So
they're either going to pay property taxes or they're going to pay for debt.
yeah, give or take, or unless Jamie has a different way to fund it over the 20 years, because I think the $80 million is over 10 years. So unless we cut it to 20 years, then that's a $4 million impact.
They're going to have to be redone again.
Yes. So definitely the best option would be to go off a bond.
You guys were here when we tried to pass the first bond. It
Was
didn't.
not-
I was here.
It did not go very well. And the only reason we got the bond that we did is because after that one failed,
We came back with
we
the
came back
lower.
with the half and the bond was passed. I was
It
not.
was
on the
half.
dais. It
I
was
think it was 60 down to 40.
30.
Did it go down?
40. No, I think it was 40.
It was 40, but
It went down to 40.
Did a lot to get it.
But
passed.
that was a whole nother year of campaigning and educating, and the residents were not in favor of a high bond at that
Well,
point.
then we have a message. Okay, Mr. McBoy.
And I'm certainly not a financial guy, but I seem to remember hearing, at least at the federal level, and I assume that it spreads over into other bonds, that the bond market is doing a lot of things. It's moving, and part of what it is, the investors are demanding higher rates. which I would assume would spread to us, maybe to a lesser extent, but at least some, which means borrowing costs are higher. Is that analysis?
That's the projection right now, that the interest rates will go
going to go up.
They can go up, but then
Right. We don't know.
we don't know yet. So
That's at the level of national debt. And
Correct.
it's not going down anytime soon.
Mick, do you have next year FY 27 with CIP?
Can you pull that up, Nick?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
All right. Oh, you're in a tunnel. It's that bad of news that he has to be like, yes, and yes.
All right, sorry. So we just want next year's CIP, so the $4.3 million, right?
And no future CIP?
And then with the property tax reduction as well, right?
Do you have two microphones on, Nick?
No, I don't. Does it sound weird?
It sounds like you're reverberating.
Cool, but we need a guitar.
Sorry, does this sound any better?
Not really, but we can hear you. It's good enough.
All right.
All right. So this is what happened. What would happen if the Amendment 3 failed.
No. So we need to show, okay, if the amendment fails, then Nick, you take out the reduction in the revenues.
The amendment fails and we do all of our CIP.
All of your CIP. So bring in the full CIP.
And when we say all, is that Jamie's recommendation of about
that's
6
the one at the
million?
beginning that we approved. If you go back to the beginning of the book.
Right, but I'm thinking since it's a 10-year projection, is that,
I'm just looking at this year.
well, I'm looking out a little further.
And Nick, can you take out the admin reduction too? Because that would be
If
Yes.
I've got Jamie's number of about 6 million a year to keep the roads. I believe that was sort of holding our own or
Right.
bringing them up a little. So I think it'd be useful to
The total
throw
cities.
that in there to see.
so this is if the amendment doesn't pass
We're
with the
still
full
going broke.
CIP.
Did you
that-
say does not pass?
Correct. So there's no reduction in property taxes.
Why do we still go broke?
Yeah, I was going to say that looks as bad as if it does pass.
You know what that tells us? We don't have as much, that's because we don't have as much homestead property as other people.
Yeah, but it should be. Well, maybe the scale was different. I don't know. We can't read the scale.
Yeah, last time you were basically going negative in 2030.
And we go in the printed one, scenario 3, we go down to minus 60. I can't read the scale on that.
It's about minus 12 million.
Nick, why don't you start from the baseline graph? Start from the baseline and then take out and then include the CIP, the full funding of the CIP.
And then Mr. Segrich has his light on, so it's his turn to speak.
So on that schedule, on that slide, just add the CIP funding, the full CIP funding. It should be the 8 million for, yes, that one.
8.9, I think. For general fund?
Same
Oh, you're
thing.
right, 7.6.
Yeah, we're still.
I
gonna
mean,
go
it's pretty
negative.
big. It's $8 million a year. So
Yeah. The
that's
other thing,
pretty,
Oh,
it's pretty heavy.
that's assuming that we spend $8.9 million every year,
Yes.
which
Correct.
we probably would because we still want the 6. Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll still go on there. It's pretty heavy.
That's the Jamie happy, but the general fund not so happy.
Correct.
Roads happy.
Well, one of the things to look at it is, this is the reality, right? That this is what we have to look at and face as a city. We have to fix our roads. We got to fix our
I know,
infrastructure.
we have to cut
right?
other places.
So, well, there's cost cutting and then there's economic development. And, we look at some of our assets, this is why we were looking at the golf course and so on. We also, as a city, you can expand your revenue through annexation, but we can't. We're boxed in. There's maybe $300,000 worth of annexation value that we could somehow get. It's not gonna do it for us. So then your choices are infill or build up. And we know our residents do not want to build up, right? And I don't think we do either. We want to maintain the charming nature of our town. So we really got to start thinking about infill. And, if you look around, there's a lot of properties that we have on Federal Highway and some on Dixie and some even around our downtown that just, they're not being utilized. They're empty lots, they're things, and that infill becomes important. There are some real considerations I think that we got to think about in terms of our development incentives, where like right now with planned development, it has to be a half acre. Good luck finding a half acre lot in the city of Lake Worth Beach to work on. Most of those empty lots are a quarter acre, or some of them are even less. So, looking at this outlook, I would love to get staff's thoughts on plans of how can we infill those smaller lots with things that are congruous to the culture and the size and the massing of what we want here in Lake Worth Beach, but allow somebody to come in and actually do things, because the cost of development has gone through the roof. And so, it's not like 10 years ago where we saw townhomes get built on some of those smaller things. It's just not economically possible. So they need things like density bonuses and parking bonuses on those smaller lots. And I really think that's something that as a commission, we need to direct staff to take a look at and get some creative plans on how we take advantage of those. Because if we can increase our more commercial tax base, it's going to help us a lot. It really is. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
All right. So what decision do you need from us right now?
I do have my light on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I hear Commissioner Segrich, and I am very pleased to hear the comment that we recognize as a commission some of the desires of the community, that, we have some vision of what kind of a city. And I think there's a fair degree of shared vision on that.
Of course.
I think the idea of looking at those is good, but the same way that I would look at the limitations to development, I would also ask that there be a parallel looking, what is realistically the additions that we could expect to our budget? And you could do out a couple different scenarios of you allow this, you allow that, you give them these breaks. Is it really as big as one might think or hope?
So you're basically saying we shouldn't make decisions without data.
Well, yeah. And we've certainly, it frequently is the argument that if you do more development, you're going to have more revenue and things will be better.
I think that we're done with Stantec, yes?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to keep the tax the same. Yeah, let's not worry about that today.
No, but I
you guys
think it
can
is
have a
important.
conversation.
Well, no, I think this is a good public conversation.
It's Friday at 4:00 and we have the entire staff here. We're not going to do it. I'm going to stop it right now. And the mayor's not here. We can have this conversation another time. What do you need from us for this last part?
For this last slide, I just want to show you what the last slide kind of shows you what how the general fund would look with the CIP.
With the CIP. Okay,
yes.
Hold on, Anthony. Do we need
There's no consensus for this one. That's fine.
a Stantec anymore?
No, we do not actually.
Okay. David and Nick, have a wonderful weekend.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Vice Mayor.
We get a copy of that though?
Yeah, can we
Yes.
have it?
No, that one's not there.
Oh, yeah, Nick and David, can you send the finance director a copy of the last scenario where you had the CIP?
And make sure
With
it's
CIP, no amendment.
clearly labeled, which is what, what's in the scenario.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
If I may, Madam Mayor, there was a project that, as a follow-up from the project, workshop number 3, is for Bryant Park that Jamie was asked to get, Jamie was asked to get some estimates, which he has right here, right now.
Balance,
Yes.
Continue
Do we
to-
have a little time to just
Yeah,
go
we
over it?
can.
Sure.
Is this going to be a supplemental?
Yeah, be real quick.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you guys, that last workshop, you approved 226,000 for the bollards. That was only for JKL&M, just right downtown between Dixie and Federal. And that was north, and this will all be in your answers for the questions you guys had from workshop number 3. But that was the bollards on JKLM, starting basically just south of the alleyway, that's north of Lucerne, and then going just north of the alleyway that's south of Lake Ave. There was a question on doing some type of rocks on Bryant Park. Basically, it was 475 linear feet from Golfview to basically where the guardrail starts, right at the base of the bridge. So on the front side of what you've got there, not recommending those because they're pretty low. They're flat and kind of wide.
Right. Side of his truck?
Well, I said if you have a truck like Commissioner Segridge or Melissa in my office, whose truck might be twice the size of yours, they're going to pop right over that. So if you look at the back side of that page, these are about 3x3, and they look a lot nicer. And you see what we kind of broke out there. We would be looking at almost 100,000.
But that's without putting them in place.
More than likely, we're going to have to do that ourselves because 2 of the companies we spoke with, they come and they drop them.
They just drop them off in the park.
They
and be
drop.
like, here you go.
They drop
You know,
them
they
off.
did with my gym equipment. They literally unloaded all my gym equipment in the middle of Lake Avenue on pallets.
We'll figure it out one way or another. But
We have
if it comes down to it, we have the equipment to do it. It's going to be a pain for staff, but we'll keep looking for something to do that.
We have to, in order to, if we do this, does this decrease the amount we have to spend on security when we have events at Bryant Park?
Yeah, has PSO given their input on that?
It depends because some of the events actually fence. If it's an event that actually there's an admission you pay. Remember, they still fence that because they want to make sure no one can enter from different sides of the park. They want to have one
Right, but
ingress
PSO
egress.
still makes them put out the orange water-filled barricades in front
Correct.
of the park, in front of the fence.
This would create a barrier on Lake Avenue.
Right.
Now, what happens on Golfview is a different story.
Well, there are bollards. They're like, maybe they're just trees. They're trees.
No. So this would just be on Lake, not going down Golfview.
Yeah, they normally don't do them on golf. They usually make it what is that? The one that goes north and the one that goes south, right at those entrances they block off and then they go up towards the bridge. They don't normally make them go down Lakeview.
So this would just be along Lake Ave though.
So as
from Golfview.
PDSO said that, yes, this would suffice as a security. That's what we're aiming for.
Well, what you're looking at there, they're basically a 3 foot wide. So if we looked at 7 inches on center, you're basically going 1.5 feet to the edge of each rock, 4 feet in between.
So a
Nothing's
golf cart could fit through, but not a car?
golf cart could probably fit through.
Okay.
Cars,
No, but-
no vehicles fitting through there.
But the commissioner's question is, have you checked it with PBSO?
I've not, no.
But before we make that decision, can we do that?
That's important to me.
It's $100,000. We can decide on it later.
Right.
So, but you guys, I mean, nothing, no vehicles going through there.
Right. But
So
if
the,
they
yeah.
still make us get the water barriers and
Or
this is
whoever's
moot.
doing the park, then this is a waste of money because that's
Right.
the whole point is for us to avoid that in the future.
I would push back on the water barriers because there's nothing they're going to do that these aren't going to do.
Right, but let's make
Yeah.
sure PBSO says, okay, that was.
Yeah.
As long as PBSO says, yes, this will suffice for a safety measure,
Okay.
then
I mean, why don't we just say we approve it pending that? If they
Yes.
say no, you still have to get the barriers, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you
Then
go.
it would just be decorative.
And I can have that answer pretty quickly.
Okay.
There's two options.
You guys,
Can you
I
just give us,
would just like to point out that we started this at 2:10 and we are done at 4:03. So
thank you, Jamie,
enjoy
for
your weekend.
for your hard work on this.
Absolutely. I just had one more thing. One more thing.
Wait, I'm sorry, Jamie, before you do your one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor, is there consensus to approve the ballards pending
Is
feedback
there
from
consent? Oh, good
PBSO?
question.
Yes.
Or do you want to wait until you hear back from them first?
No,
No.
if they are sufficient for safety, then we are okay with that. If they're not, we aren't. Can I have consensus?
Consent.
Consent, and it's rocks, not
Rocks, not bollards.
Rocks.
Yes.
And we'll get that answered. I'll get that to the
McCoy.
city manager.
What it looks like for their communities. I mean, those are pretty big.
I'm sorry, could you speak into your mic?
Unless
Nikki?
somebody spray paints them, then I'll kill them. I mean, you know,
Where's Tiana?
I will make them clean them.
I would certainly like to wait to hear from PBSO before I sign on, but
Yeah, but if they say it'll suffice, but instead of the water barriers aren't very attractive either,
no, but they're not there.
but they're not permanent.
But
Yeah.
they're
Those be
extremely.
kind of fun, actually. You could like climb on them and
So we have 3-1
I'd
consensus.
get a little bit of public input on it. Let
We have
people.
3-1 consensus.
3-1 consensus.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
The last one was at the last budget workshop. You guys had also mentioned a cost of service study for the solid waste and recycling
Yep.
department. I would like to add about $41,000 supplemental to the budget to do that. I should be able to get it substantially less than that, but that's the safe number to put in there for now for FY27.
Is that you doing it?
No, we would be having someone like an outside party doing a third party.
Okay, because I thought that there was something up here said that, well, you know what the cost is and it was going to be put on you.
We can do that. The last time we did something, which was, I believe, 2018 or 2019, which was an overall assessment of the department as well. That was, it's always better to have a third
I was
party
just
do
gonna
that.
say for validity.
Just for validity. We can easily do that in-house if you'd like, but if you want a separate party to do that, we would need to make sure we had a
Just have to go
supplemental
out
in
to
there.
bid and bring somebody forward to.
No, it's under 50,000. We wouldn't need to go out to bid for it. I would just get multiple quotes for it from multiple companies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'd like it to be a third party.
I'd like
Not-
to be a third party too, but I'd like, Ms.
Unless we can have the internal auditor do it. Is that they don't do cost of studies?
No.
It depends on who you guys bring in for internal auditor. Some have different skill levels. We've had multiple here since I've been here, and each one had a strong suit. There was one we had that could have done that.
Okay.
And then the other two.
All right. Well, let's not add that to their first day. So I consent to that.
I would like it to be a lot less than 41,000 though, but.
Again, we have to get the quotes, but I'm pretty confident we can do that. I just wouldn't want to have to come back again and ask for another.
Okay, Mr. Segrich? You consent?
Consent.
Mr. McBoy?
I'm practicing. Consent.
Oh my God. 4-0.
Thank you. We'll have that added.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion or is this a workshop?
Workshop.
Oh,
no
then we don't need a
needed.
motion. Guys, thank you so much for a successful budget. This has been the best, about that I've had that many, but this has been the best one so far. And I really like us having Stantec one day by themselves.
Yeah, I think that.
And then they don't have to sit here. So thank you. And we'll see you on September 10th to approve it.